speaking of something going to get us there, today's my birthday. Another year older today.
Happy
And
birthday.
it's Memorial Day weekend. So shout out to all the veterans and people who served our country and shit.
Oh, you know, like, I mean, if you want to talk about that, we'll talk about that. I'm up to talk about anything, really.
Right.
I was more or less just surprised at the fact that you were offended and like, blew me off because I didn't want to see you naked. I was like, boy, this is just so different than whenever, like, you know, it was just like, stop asking me for naked pictures and just talk to me.
Bro, I told the wife today that we were talking, I seen this Facebook meme, and it said, when I was growing up, dads had like 4 or 5 kids. Now a kid has like 4 or 5 dads. Fucking climate change is crazy.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I'm like, that's a little fucked up, but
It's so true, though.
it's so
like,
true, but it's more fucked up.
I mean, it might be one of those things that we just don't want to admit, but boy, how a shift has just taken. It's like, man.
Man,
And I like the
here,
climate
I
change.
got an interesting one. We can get right into it, bro. Talking to my mother the other day, I'm like, listen, I'm tired of everybody being mad at me for pointing this out. Okay? So I'm just going to point it out again. Because that's fucking how I am. When you were growing up in the 60s, my mom and dad are both from the 1940s, born in the 40s, grew up in the 50s and 60s, graduated high school in the 60s. You know what I mean? My dad went to Vietnam and then come home in the early 70s and started life. And like, yeah, in the 60s, you could have a husband who had a job at a factory, man. Worked as 40, did your 8 and skate, as they say. You know what I mean? 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, nothing more. He had 2 cars in the drive, had a 2-story house, had 2 or 3 kids going to school.
Could provide for the whole
paid
family.
for all of it, and that was it, man, a factory worker. Nowadays, the same, 2025, you got the man and the wife, both college educated, asshole deep in debt with student loans, should be at the top of their careers. They're both working 60 some hours a week plus, and have no children, have no time for a life, and somehow can't make fucking ends meet. What? Yeah. I mean, don't be mad at me for pointing it out. I'm just saying the way it is.
Well, it's like, I mean, can you just say that it's directly just related to the cost of living increased while the whatever the wage that people are making or whatever the money people are making are not increasing in conjunction with that? But it's like, it just seems like almost unrealistic. Like, if you watch, like, I would have to date it to like a Leave It to Beaver situation, again, like whatever, 2 kids, husband and wife, the dad worked, and they had a fucking beautiful house, brand new car. I mean, obviously cars were probably only $2,000 then, but same thing. I mean, like, it's just one income.
And that's my thing.
Groceries fucking full of the fucking refrigerator.
I don't want people to get mad because I don't know. I don't know what happened that caused that shift. I don't know why we have to make so much more to make, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I wish I did, because like my mom tells me that things were cheap. Okay? But you also didn't make shit. I mean, not shit. I think my mom said she worked at a luggage factory in Kane, Pennsylvania, and made something like $1 or something an hour, maybe, right. Or something. It wasn't much. My dad was considered quote unquote rich because working in the timber industry back then, you were making 4 or 5. And man, if you were making $5 an hour in the 70s, I'd imagine you were rolling it in pretty good.
Man, that's hard to imagine that it was that low. I mean, because again, this is just, 2 people ago, one person ago, I guess, actually one lifetime ago, your parents.
Yeah.
So it's like,
who are both still alive, by the way, which would be funny to get them in front of a mic and put some headphones on and ask them these questions.
Well, because I would be surprised to know, like, okay, where did you start to realize the shift? Like, holy shit, like, like, I'm not getting as much at the grocery store as we normally get, or it's like,
and then you're just culturally,
utilities going up. I mean, like, I'm sure just gradually over time is why you didn't see such a spike, in...
Well, and aren't you culturally, or maybe culturally is not the correct word, aren't you somehow or another indoctrinated into believing that these prices going up is just the normal ebbs and flows, and it's going to be,
That's life.
That's life, Rhett. It costs more for that farmer now and this and that. But what? My uncle and my dad both were owner-operators of their own trucking companies that hauled timber out of northwestern Pennsylvania and still doing it to this day through my cousin and stuff. My uncle told me one time that in keeping track of everything, the costs had went up something like 300% in the course of 30 years.
And that's everything included. I mean, you figure, because that's where you always blame it on gas and gas prices affect this and that. But this is just as a whole. 300% increase in just the cost of what it cost them just to do business. So how much time is that over?
30-some years.
30 years.
But what he also said is, Brian, do you think the fucking wage increase was 300%?
Oh, it was probably a quarter of that at best.
I would say. Yeah,
that's interesting. And again, I mean, you would think that, like, normally if the costs are going up, you would have to be able to give people more money, but there has to be more money to give people. So therefore, it has to come from somewhere, and that's where, like, I mean, realistically, if you have an efficient system where, okay, like, you can make enough to pay people enough, well, if you're making more, you can pay people more. If things are more expensive, then somebody's making more money because the product costs more money, then whoever's selling the product's making more money. Now, maybe it costs them more to do business, but again, there has to be dividends somewhere. So it's like, okay, well, that's where you start wondering, well, is it just waste? Is it just over-regulation, or people just overtaxed? Where really they've made it nearly impossible for not only for someone to get ahead, but we're barely even able to break even, just because they know with the increase in cost of doing business, the increase in cost of real estate, how to get the supply, everything, they can just keep you on that bubble.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep afloat, keep alive, but you're still struggling enough to have to just continue to work.
One of the worst things I hear at work all the time from these younger guys is how there's just the whole dream of ever owning a house is out the fucking window for them. But then they tell me what they're paying in their rent, and I'm like, well, what? My mortgage is not that expensive.
Yeah, we had that conversation privately. It was like, well, if you look at the average cost of rent, if it's over $1,000, you'd be paying that for a mortgage, but you have to have the house, you got to have the financing, you got to have the things in place to be able to even get to that mortgage, which I don't know what that process looks like at all. But
I've heard both sides of the argument. Some people also say, well, if you own your house, anything goes wrong, boy, that's on you to take care of it. And they're right. You know what I mean? Yeah, my hot water tank quits. We had a mishap last night. The wife thought it quit last night because she couldn't get hot water up in the bathroom. I'm not even still sure why. But
really?
We thought it quit last night. And I'm like, well, that's great. We can't really afford that. Where if you rent, you just call the landlord and say, hey, hot water tank quit. You got like 3 days to get me going.
Best case scenario, though, I mean, like, I don't know whose landlords you've been dealing with, but, like, I've had to call landlords when there's been serious issues, and I'm waiting. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of times where I'd be happier to be reliant on myself and those who I know.
Yep.
As opposed to someone who, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously two sides to every coin.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I remember growing up, and I was probably... I guess I was probably just starting college, so I was out of high school. But I remember my uncle telling me that after he went through his divorce and all this stuff, and, he was my role model pretty much, as far as looking outside of my parents for a role model, someone that was doing things really differently. He was an executive of a fucking newspaper and all this stuff, and, traveled all the time, lived in a bunch of cool places. But he had told me, like, after that, he's like, I'll never fucking own another place again. He said, fuck that.
That was the other thing in my...
I'm going back to renting. I'm going to have it be somebody else's responsibility. Like, fuck this.
It's funny that he said it like that, because I've also heard friends of my mom and dad's who had rental properties saying, fuck this, these people won't pay you. Then they move out and they trash the place and destroy it. And so there's goods and bads, everything. But two, it depends on what you deal with. If you're trying to be a slumlord, you're probably going to get that kind of stuff. Like, some of the guys I work with, they told me, like, buddy I work with, I ain't going to name him by name, but he's like, man, I had to have first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, references checked out by 3 people. He wanted my firstborn son's DNA.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, if you're talking about, just the finances of it, it's like, that's just to get in the fucking door and get the key. now you still got to furnish a place and get it together and have a place, that's comfortable to live in. So it's like if you're talking about a rent that's over $1,000, 1,000 plus. I mean, so first month's rent, security deposit, last month's rent. I mean, you're in the hole right there. $3,000 just to get in the door. Yeah, it's like.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is when you first move into that new house or home or place, apartment, what do you got to do? You got to get on the horn and get water turned on, electric turned on, gas service turned on, garbage service turned on. If you need internet or other home phone, or you're getting 5 to 6 things online to get moved in there, and all them people.
Yeah, and you might not have to pay some of those. A lot of those you don't have to pay them up front, depending on what your situation is. Some of those places require a deposit, but it's like still, like you get in there, you just get your leg up. Well, in a short time, everything is coming at once. Yeah, it's like, and that's where, like, if you own a business, you got double that. I mean, if you have a brick and mortar, and that's I think people forget sometimes. I'm like, I make people aware all the time. It's like, I got 2 rents, 2 electric bills, 2 gas bills, 2 internet bills, 2 trash bills. So it's like, man, I see people daily struggling to make it once for one place, and it's like, man, like I don't know how. I pat myself on the back, enough to say, like, I'm glad that I can at least do it for 2 different places, as well as keeping the place in inventory, because so much of that has to go back into the business to be able to keep doing business, or else, I mean, it's a fucking one pop shop.
That's the worst thing you could do.
So it's the majority of what is made in revenue has to go back into that, so it's like it's a juggling act for sure. But again, like, you're usually not starting a business unless you already know, like, what the landscape is in most cases. Like I said, hopefully you know somebody, because, like, someone like you say, well, how do I go and get an EIN? How am I on the books as far as the state of Pennsylvania? How do I go through these processes? It's not expensive. It's just, it gets expensive.
And that's something that me and you were talking about privately too, because it's not everything's for the internet, but setting that stuff up for me to run my own company and stuff, because there's benefits.
I think everybody should. I think everybody should have something, because again, if you have that when you only use it for 10 hours out of the year, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that you've done, you've created.
Yeah.
And if something would happen at your place of employment tomorrow and they'd say, you know what, fuck you, dude, you're out, you'd say, well, you know what? This is the best opportunity I ever had to make my thing happen now.
I told her that all the time. I said, you know what we would do to showcase that work? Because I already know what I would do with my company, and it'd be I would take my logging experience to the homeowner and do a lot of tree work.
Yeah.
Well, first thing I would do is there's 3 big soft maple in the front yard and a massive red oak in the backyard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll come out and we'll film a commercial.
Like I told her, first thing we could do, like you said, videotape it to film a commercial for online. And then I do live right in a nice part of town. Everybody who lived be like, old bum yock over there looks like a rich guy with what he did to them trees. Right. I wonder if he could do them to mine.
Right.
The answer to that riddle's yeah, but you're
and you talked about even on, like, the most basic form of landscaping, and it's like, I could get someone to cut my grass, and I know the difference between somebody that did a good job and bad job. If I'm seeing where, like, you fucking missed the aisle of the line, I'm like, because my dad would have come out and rapped me across the head if he had been able to see fucking walls of grass standing up between strips.
Me and you were raised so the same. I'm so glad to know that they were hard on us. People were like,
I used to think he was a psychotic fucking asshole, and maybe he was, I'm so glad that,
I'm glad they were.
And that's where, like, I credit my dad for a lot of, like, who I am, because of my work ethic and stuff, and because I'm fearful of the things that are undone. Like, I literally have, like, this and nobody's pushing me. It's just like this internal urgency. Gotta do it. I mean,
and do it right.
If I have something on my fucking head, like, I would rather get it done before I sit down. I want to sit down knowing that I've checked everything off the list, or I've done, at least enough to earn this right to sit down, so. And then my mom is the one who's credited me to be outgoing, because if I was just the way that my dad was, I wouldn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't need anybody. I would hone into that lone wolf, stay on my own property. I don't need to associate with the world, because he's
my dad and his brother are the same.
He can disconnect, dude. He wouldn't need a single human, dude. He'd be fine. And, like, I can lean into that a lot of times, and I can be healthy.
It must be in our blood. That must be a hereditary, because my grandfather was that way. Her and I were listening to a song today, and one of the lines in the song was about how his grandfather only come in town a couple times a year. And I said, it's so crazy that my uncle, my uncle's like that, prides himself on all his deep freezers. Like, I wouldn't have to fucking get in town buy meat for a year and a half.
And that's like my dad. He would, he would have no reason to go anywhere, because he's so smart. He could set himself up to be completely self-sustaining, and I'm telling you what, he literally doesn't need another
because
human.
I shouldn't even say that he goes in town to buy meat, because I'm pretty sure he shoots everything on his own property. So I don't, you know what I mean?
And that's the way that he would prefer to live, and like maybe it's growing up in the woods, maybe it's just having a little bit of that connection with like a very deep, isolated part of the country, because there's just a whole black hole in Pennsylvania where.
And then we go to work in it. When you go to work out in the woods every day, and you got to drive an hour and a half to wherever you're cutting timber that day. When you get done with work, what are you going to do? Yeah. Well, I got a rifle in the truck, and I got an hour and a half to get home. So I'll just take these back roads and go slow. Maybe I'll find some steaks on the way. You know what I mean? Right. So that's the lifestyle they adopt to living. The only person they need is their women. They get home and, hey, killed this, and we need to cook. And, it's...
Well, and there's something to be said, too, about being able to be disconnected and be comfortable. And, again, spending all day out in the woods. I mean, like, I'm sure a lot of these guys probably worked a lot of times by themselves. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you probably have a crew and stuff. But a lot of these guys, again, like, you find your peace out there in the woods with nobody. My dad would sit in a tree stand for fucking 10 hours and wouldn't think about anybody else.
Well, and the thing about working in the woods, even on a big crew, because in Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, a big crew would be like a 5-man crew.
Oh, right.
Average of 2. Most time it's just 2 guys work together, a cutter and a skidder operator. Okay. So if you're in the woods cutting, and I'm pulling everything that you're cutting, we can be like that line in Parks and Recreation. I once worked with a man for 3 years before I ever learned his name.
Right, yeah.
Best coworker I ever had.
You're right, though, because you're in 2 different fucking environments. They're using the equipment, you're on the ground.
Yeah, and you don't need to, I mean, them guys communicate with hand signals, too, which is a lot of...
Right,
that's about it. You pull away, or you're good, or bye. They don't need to talk.
Well, and especially you think about before technology integrated into everything, too, which, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of these guys probably don't have very good cell service in a lot of these places they're at anyway, and how many of them are walking around with, like, a sat phone or something, but, like, when you were out there by yourself, isolated, and, like, you don't have a walkie-talkie, you don't have fucking nothing, dude. I mean, oh, my God.
I do, I mean, now, in 2025, like, I was working in the woods quite a bit every weekend last year, and I took some pictures, because I have a smartphone nowadays, and I took some pictures, but, like, it was funny because I had a backpack with some food and toilet paper and water, and you got chainsaws. I carry 2, because if you get one stuck, you can get yourself out of a lot of trouble by having a second saw laying handy. So I carry 2 chainsaws into the woods, and then gas and oil. And that's basically all you need to, you know what I mean? Keep yourself working. And it seems like throughout the day you keep losing clothes you got to keep track of if you're depending on the weather. Like, these spring mornings you might start out and it'd be 40 degrees, and by the end of the day it's 75. So you're stripped out of a bunch of shit that you had on.
But that was like my favorite thing though. Like, I mean, I haven't worked extensively in the woods, but even working in the scrap yard or the sawmill, like, there's nothing better than like being awake when like nobody's around. You get on the fucking road to the interstate and you're the only car there. You go to the fucking store, you're the only one there. It's like there's something to be said about being up before the rest of the world's conscious, like before the sun's up, you're out there, and it's like, man, a different environment, like to be able to experience like kind of the world. What I would attribute to like almost like post-apocalypse, it's like, man, like I would really thrive if there was just fucking nobody. I mean, just a handful of people.
Handful would do. Maybe that's why they want to depopulate the earth and shit.
I'm not prepping for it or anything, but
no, we would not do well.
No, I mean, I would like to think, but my head goes to a completely different situation. I would thankfully have smarter people in my inner circle that would be handling killing things that we're going to eat, and those kind of things, transportation. I would hopefully just be able to just, have fun, mark us up, and, we could still do tattoos on solar power. I've thought about this before, but boy, I'd have that bike everywhere, dude. Like all these places that I can't ride right now because of pedestrians and cars and cameras and security, and I'd be fucking riding everywhere.
Speaking of taking a trip somewhere, we need to take a ride out to Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania.
That's right there, dude. That's literally right there.
Well, they have a paved BMX thing out there.
It's a fucking beautiful place, dude. I fucking love that place.
All right.
They actually just built a bunch onto the
There's a big skate park there and shit too.
Yeah, and it's pretty new. Like, I mean, they've like I said, it made some new additions to that park and stuff, and like it's not the closest skate park. There is one in Kersey, but it's what we would consider prefab. So
Okay.
obviously that means pre-manufactured. It wasn't even like they thought about anything. You got a square lot. Here's a fucking pre-made design, and there it is, and we don't do anything with it after that.
Okay.
You know, it's just metal ramps. It's just very bland. So we have that real close. But yeah, Phillipsburg is a full-blown asphalt pump track, and then they have a full
Yes.
skate park on the side.
And it was it had a really nice regular park there too. Like if you just wanted to throw the kid in the stroller and push it around, like there's stuff there for everybody.
In most cases, like when you find a skate park, you're gonna find it like they have a playground or a park or something like that adjacent to it. It just usually ends up being like the best place for a skate park, especially like if you're trying to make sure that you're not going to get delinquents. Because like literally before I moved to this town, there was a skate park. Literally, I would be able to see it from our window right here. That's how close it was. Got shut down because people were doing drugs there and fucking smoking weed and painting dicks on the ramps. And it's like, so of course
it always had. I know, and then kids bitch that there's nothing in their towns and communities to do.
And I'm not, you know, I'm not the one to say, you know what, fucking anybody that smokes dope is terrible, and you know you shouldn't be drawing dicks, and you know whatever. That's your thing. Time and place, don't do it there. It's like I am the biggest one for advocating. Like if there's a skate park, police the fuck out of it. I want cameras. I mean, have a fucking security or police roundabouts or whatever. Keep it nice, keep it safe, and it's
right. Then people would thrive there. If you had the right people involved, it would thrive. You know what I mean? That was what was that. Remember when there was a skate park in Brookville and that guy ran it great. Was down there all the time and
ramps and rails.
Yeah, worked with the kids. That thing was great, but I don't know.
It's like I mean, there's a lot of bullshit because I did that once. I had a warehouse and a bike park and stuff. So like the biggest thing was the insurance.
Oh God.
A lot of risk and like I mean I had a lot of things on my plate when I was trying to do that. I was doing rentals and all kinds of stuff, which is a whole other landscape of the insurance because then you're taking your equipment that you're swearing safe and you're letting somebody take it out of your site, a kayak or a bike or something like that, and saying that they're responsible enough not to kill themselves, and if they do, who's liable? You know, so like there was a lot of hairy hoops to jump through to get that to work, and ultimately it just ended up not being worth it. You know, and like I would be willing to do it again, but like location, and it's almost like now, like, because that was going to essentially be what we considered a private skate park where you would pay for admission to come in and ride there.
Okay.
But a public situation is what you want, you know, like, I mean, and it really comes down to money and maintenance. If you can save the town having to pay for it and maintain it, it's pretty easy if you have a lot of land to put it in. But it's hard to get people on board because, you know, it's so easily skewed into something or a location where people are just going to be riff-raffing it, and it's like, you know.
Yep.
I mean, I can't personally police it, you know, but yeah, I don't think it would be that fucking difficult, you know. It's just one of those things, you know. But we have one, you know, within 10 minutes from here. It's all right. It's in the middle of a park, literally with like a full-blown playground over there, which like again has all of, like this recycled rubber, no wood chips. It's all very fucking safe and nerfed, you know, for kids. And then there's like a big volleyball court and pavilions, and it's a pretty nice park. It's called Fox Township Park. It's really fucking nice. There's a couple parks real close to here that are real nice, and then the golf course is right up above us. So there's like a handful of things. But again, how do you get the youth interested in that? Because the playground is good for elementary kids. The golf course is good for senior citizens, but you got to bridge the gap. And that's where, you know, bringing some live entertainment in, you know, and, you know, doing some fun things will be, I think, helpful to that. I actually just read a fucking study, which I'm over here talking about how cool it is to live next to a golf course. And I fucking see this study that 65% of people that live within a 6-mile fucking radius of a golf course have, like, Parkinson's disease. It's because of all the chemicals they spray on the ground.
Oh my God, I think I just heard the same shit, I'm pretty sure. Where did I hear that at?
Like, God damn it.
Wow.
I was about to go get a membership.
Well, yeah, because they do these things with the grass. But, I mean, that also might be in them really ritzy areas.
Yeah, I'm sure that, you know.
I mean, I'm sure they all use some kind of chemicals, but I'm sure it's also worse, you know, in Florida. That's just me guessing.
I'm sure it's public information. Maybe they'd like to come onto the podcast and defend the fucking pesticides. Because what it was is that they had realized that, like, okay, well, like, right now, that's up on the hill. And I worked at the scrapyard where the DEP was frequently on his back because of the location, not so much of what he was doing. Granted, he was doing some shady stuff, but his location is what makes it so important, because where he was at, his property was directly running into the water stream of the town. So it's like it's running into the creek beds and stuff. So like that sits up above us. So anything that they put in the soil or into the grounds, it's got to go somewhere. So I mean, like, is it leaking in? I don't know.
Right. No, I totally get what you're saying. There's certain places that, like, well, I mean, look, there's places in America where we test nuclear bombs.
Well, we talked about Chernobyl too. Like, how is that not affecting anything in the outskirts of where it's at?
Right.
How is that contained? But yeah, either way, something's gonna get us.
Oh yeah. Speaking of something gonna get us, so today's my birthday, another year older today, and it's Memorial Day weekend. So shout out to all the veterans and people who served our country and shit. And when you're fucking toasting them dogs this weekend, think about, my wife loves military history, so we even went to a little Civil War type thing today.
Did you go?
Yeah, we went.
Yeah, talk about that, dude. That's pretty cool.
It was really small. It was in Boalsburg, Pennsylvania.
Never heard of it.
It's out Handy to State College.
Boalsburg, like a bowl, or a B-U-L-L? Boalsburg.
B-O-A-L.
Boalsburg.
Yep.
Interesting.
And it was, for one, the actual museum right now was closed for renovations. Hopefully I don't botch this all up. She'll throw something at me if I fuck it up too bad.
You can yell at him.
The actual museum was closed for renovations, which was all the more reason to kind of go and attend the outdoor thing they had going on today to kind of show support, right? So they just had a simple Civil War reenactment, which was actually really more geared for kids. They had fucking wooden muskets there that they were handing out to all the kids to let them go out in the field and play. And they were teaching them. Yeah, they showed them how to, like, line up and shit. It was really geared towards, like, cool. Kids that were probably, like, 4 to 5. Like, obviously, we're there with a 6-month-old. Like, he's sucking his thumb in his stroller. He can't.
Well, who would have expected you're going to a Civil War thing that they would have even tuned anything to a kid?
Yeah.
So this is very different than what I would expect.
Yeah, it was different than what we expect. Very tuned towards the kids on that aspect. And then they had 2 people that were kind of explaining things at the time. A girl that we stood and listened to almost all of her thing before the kid kind of pulled us away.
Speaking about the history of it?
And how they did laundry, linens, wash, all the different shit that went on for the Civil War, like, related to the hospitals.
So during the war, so as far as, like, the garments that the soldiers and stuff are wearing, how are they maintaining their linens and all this stuff? Yeah, talk about something you wouldn't even think about. Like, how is the soldiers going to fucking wipe their ass?
And then the hospitals, they were coming in with all their shit all shot and bloody and all, like...
Oh, my God.
So she was talking... Yeah, before...
Could you imagine having to fucking... That's your day-to-day?
Especially then, when the only fucking thing we knew was to even cut it off.
Yeah, I was
if you got shot in the wrist, we couldn't even sew. Yeah. You needed 3 stitches, but instead we cut your fucking hand off.
Let me line you up with some anesthetics and shit. Like, nothing. I would imagine. I mean, like,
no,
nothing that we would
whiskey. Yeah, you did whiskey, brandy, and a bit of fucking stick while they sawed your arm off. Shit.
Yeah,
but she was talking about
on something.
She was talking about that, like the hospital linens, all the shit that they would have to wash, and you boiled it all.
You like boil the sheets and stuff? Like, I mean, I guess it's probably all fucking all bloody. I guess back then, you could just open up the fucking bounty and just just boil it.
And then she was talking about how they washed the stuff with lye soap and bluing.
Fabric softener back then, boy. This is really uncomfortable.
Yeah, starched the shit out of stuff. There was a lot to learn. And then the guy that was speaking, we didn't actually stay for all of that. But I'm pretty sure he was explaining what they had in the camps, what they carried on their person, like the soldier, because you fucking had nothing. I mean, you had your musket, you had balls, powder, patches, the rod, the shit you needed to fire the weapon, and like a tin cup and a fucking canteen.
And I always wondered, though, because I don't even know, like, how you even look for this, but, like, how much in terms of ammunition or, like, firepower is each person walking around with? Like, each guy might only be able to, like, hold enough to get off just, like, maybe a couple shots.
Yeah.
It's not like nowadays where you see them fucking hammering M16s, you get 1,000 rounds of fucking minute or something. Like, I mean, each shot might take a minute to fucking fire, and then you might only be able to shoot 6.
Oh, my God. The evolution of guns, which I will send you some shit that you can stitch into even this episode post-production, Her and I went to the World War II Museum in New Orleans when we were in New Orleans, which if you watch the show...
I don't think we talked about that one either, though. We didn't talk about the museum, did we?
No, we really didn't much. But if you watch the show, you've heard me speak on New Orleans. So we were at the World War II Museum. I got a bunch of pictures of guns down there.
Yeah, I love military stuff.
And like just the evolution of killing people is fucking unreal, because we used to take a straight shaft, like a musket is a straight hollow shaft rifle.
Just a steel tube,
smooth
basically, right?
Steel tube, yep, not even rifled. Rifled would be riflings inside the barrel.
There's no machining done.
No machining, it's just smooth barrel. You would fucking pour black powder down that, put a fucking cotton patch that you soaked out of your own saliva in, and then put a ball on top, or nails, or glass, or rock salt.
Balls?
They're considered 50 or 45 caliber. So I actually have some.
And that's based on weight? Like grain and all that. I think isn't that what that comes down to?
I think so.
Like a grain is like a weight, or calibers maybe. I don't really know exactly how they
I'm not
figure out
weapons.
But I always wondered, like, because boy, not only is that thing like a fucking steel ball, but then it's probably red fucking hot when it comes out.
Yes, it would be red hot because you lit it with. So, and that's the thing. We were getting shot. So when you would pour the powder in, wet the patch, put the ball, start it in, ramrod it the fuck down, pull the hammer back, puff. That's what you got. Then you got to reload to fucking shit that, like you were saying, is a fucking belt fit. They call that shit belt fit, where I got to hold the fucking band for you while you run the trigger.
Right.
Because that thing's just pulling in fucking ammunition.
Right, just continuous feeds, right.
Yeah, they used to get the barrels so hot in World War II that they fucking melted.
When you'd see the casings just fucking... I just can't even imagine, like I said, like a single shot, especially because like, that's to pack it down, right, to get maximum dispersion on that. But it's like, boy, think about the trial and error of having to figure out that fucking weaponry just there. How many people probably fucking blew up a hand or something.
They talk about all that.
I'm sure that there's some defect, some blowback, in it.
Well, yeah, you're only going to fire that rifle so many times and it fail. Or, I mean, let's be honest, in the heat of combat, how careful are you being with that black powder? Oh, yeah, I bet you're just measuring out to the perfect increment. No! You're fucking pouring that shit in there and hoping you'd either have enough or two. There was probably many a guy that...
somebody else's fucking bullets.
There was probably many a guy that shot a hot load out of that fucker that was way more black powder than... Because if you've ever seen a black powder rifle get fired, especially at night, some of them roll flame out 14, 16 inches anyway.
I always associate the smoke, but again, very rarely do you see them fired at night.
You don't see it fired at night. I grew up with a kid, and his father, who's dead now, rest his soul, he was in a muzzleloader musket type club. And that was something...
That would be fun.
Well, that was something they used to get together and do even back in the 90s for like a photograph thing. Was get 25, 30 guys and shoot... I'm good on that. Shoot muskets off at night.
Oh,
man,
neat.
you can get some cool pictures of 20 guns all rolling a flame out at
firing squad, man. Oh, dude, that would be cool. I did a lot of like astrophotography and shooting photos of the stars, and a lot of like what they consider like low exposure photography for shooting stuff like that at night. Looks amazing because you can actually see like the trajectory of the entire flame coming out and everything. Like, I mean, you can do it with a flashlight.
Do you have a telescope by chance?
Not anymore, but they're pretty easy to acquire. You know me, I'm like...
She wants one. We need to get one. I know they're easy to acquire. I just know you already had one because you have everything. So.
I'm like Rhett in the Shawshank Redemption. And it's like, I've been known to acquire a thing or two.
I'm known to get a thing or two. If you never looked around the studio, you know what I mean? I'm known to locate certain things from time to time.
Usually about fucking 24 hours from the time of somebody saying, like, man, I really need one of these things, or I could use one of these things. I'm like, I can, I mean, like, and people have done it to me before, too. I mean, like, because it's just, good energy. I feel like the universe just has a way of providing things that, we're putting good energy out there, so shit just falls into place.
It should fall into place. When you're doing the right thing, it will.
Well, you should see the fucking thing that I found this morning, but talking about evolution of military weaponry, I've gone down this rabbit hole now, which I know that this isn't even science fiction. You would think this would be something out of Star Trek, but these direct energy weapons, this is a real thing, and they're using these now all over the fucking world. And like, people are speculating that this is what could have been even used to take down the Twin Towers, because you can use a direct energy weapon from essentially anywhere. It's essentially a satellite laser beam force energy beam. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, like I said, it sounds like fucking science fiction.
Right,
but
no,
it's a real
not
thing.
to me. You
And,
just
like,
have to open up
so-
rabbit holes that I would totally be like, oh yeah.
You can go online right now and you can pull up videos of them using these in the Middle East because they can use them now to defuse drones. Because see, now drones have leaked into like military engagement so much now that like they could send out 1,000 fucking drones. Which, what's the risk? It's like kamikaze pilots. You have to use like check off a life to run that.
Right.
You
This thing's
swarm.
a battery. All you
Yeah.
lost was a fucking battery.
And they work as a single unified unit. If you've even watched anybody that
Oh,
shows
what?
you these fucking... Well, have you seen these drone shows that they do where they can depict an image? Have you seen these drone shows that they do with fireworks instead of fireworks? In Japan?
No.
It's
Here's what I'm
fucking
familiar with, though,
ridiculous.
with drones. I've seen drone racing, and then with the work I do...
Race them, too. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, guys will race them. And then the one thing I've seen is they do a lot of video with them with racing. Motorcycles, cars, any of that. They follow the...
Oh, well, that's even very basic.
Very
shit.
basic. If I have a good drone and I run it around a road course, I can set it to memorize that course. And then when the car comes out on the course, I can just set the drone to fucking chase mode and it knows the track.
The one I was looking at today, because I've wanted one of these for a while, just for some cinematic and what I would call like B-roll background stuff. $200, man.
I hope you pay for one. I'm in.
$200, man. They have one. They've made it now to where it's so seamless. It's a one push button situation. It's like they've taken like the simplicity of a GoPro, where you don't have to know anything about flying it.
Oh.
It has 3 modes: follow, it has figure 8, and it has so it has its own GPS tracking and all that. Literally, it's the size of my cell phone. You set it in your hand. You push one button. It goes zip, and then you can just start walking. You can get on your bike. You can, and it would follow you. And obviously, it has a flight duration. Most of them can only fly for 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
But it's completely it's automated. Self follow, or you can do. It has a couple of different patterns where it could go out and come back, or it could do a figure 8 or a circle or something like that. And then you can buy add-ons if you want the remote to manually control it. They also have a headset. You put this thing on like this.
Now you can see what it sees.
It's literally, the remote is literally a PlayStation controller, and you literally just 2 joysticks.
Now you entered the world of how they race them. So they'll set up a course in a building with fucking neon light. You'd be something you'd build. You'd be fucking great at it. They'll set up a course with like neon rope lights and shit in a warehouse. And then you
drone versus drone racing.
Oh yeah, 3 or 4 of us sit down and throw the fucking things on, dude. And it's intense too. Them boys can fly them like
video games of the future. You know what I mean? Like it's like if you've seen this, like I said, in Star Wars or Harry Potter or something, you'd be like, it's so far fetched. But like you're gonna have a bunch of kids in the bedroom racing fucking. They're gonna be running fucking routes around town.
Yeah. Well, it would start like something like. In a garage,
probably. Okay, so this is a light show, but this is done with drones. Drones that have lights on them. And now
this is totally understandable.
Yeah, so with computers, obviously, I could punch in whatever the design is. I could even punch in the fucking waltz. So I could punch in whatever, the fucking symphony of, whatever, Chopin or whatever, and it will move however I program it to move. And it's all simultaneous, and they all work as a single unit. So if you look at what's just capable of that, just to make a little piece of art and a picture in the sky, what about adapting a military application to that technology and saying, like, I could swarm 10,000 fucking drones over a city that all have gas in them or chemical warfare? I mean,
that's what I mean. As soon as I started seeing how
what are you going to do, shoot them all down? They'll just send them...
As soon as I seen how good the guys were, that a couple guys that I work with have good, like, that's what the one kid does with them, is he follows the fucking guys on the dirt tracks. He gets overhead footage and shit of these local dirt track races.
But he's manually controlling this thing. Okay.
But even then, he said it's so fucking easy to run, like a good one.
Oh, if you can play a racing video game, you're dialed.
You can fly one,
And that's what, Musk and all these guys are like, people are flipping out all these young kids. It's like, listen, he's so smart to take the youth and these people that grew up with this technology and with a different way of thinking and people that are just really out-of-the-box individuals. Because, again, like, you find these kids that you fucking chastise for playing 20 hours of video games a day, put these motherfuckers in a drone striker in the military driving, radio-controlled automated tanks or something. Like, these kids are so good, with just their hand-eye coordination and being able to work a joystick. Like, it's all got a widespread application, especially, like I said, if you think about, like, how this technology evolves into a military application. It's really fucking crazy.
when I started seeing how good them drones were, I was like, man, how would you put a gun on one? That was one of the first things I thought. You know what I mean?
Well,
Just being an idiot.
And that's still, again, very traditional thinking anymore. Like we talked about it before. It's like the wars of the future, you probably won't even fire one gun. You know, like, I mean, you'll be using chemical warfare and you'll be using, you know, I mean, there's just so many applications now where like you can hit people without having to have somebody fly a plane, without having to have somebody drop the fucking bomb, without having to have somebody even in the same region. You know, it's like it's really crazy. Did you see that they're trying to do this Iron Dome for the United States?
No.
You didn't? Well, you know about the Iron Dome.
I think I do. Yeah, it's the missile defense system. Yeah.
So does it surprise you that we've never thought about this before? I mean, like, how has that not been a thing with us before, that we don't have a coordinated, you know, essentially safety net over the United States,
right?
To stop an airborne strike or something like that, you know, like
right. And not to be nothing right now, I just want to throw this out there just because it's controversial. Wouldn't we protect Canada and Mexico too, just because, guys?
I would think so.
We've always been your big brother, so just relax. I just want to throw that in.
Well, as soon as this thing was announced, of course, Canada's like, oh, we weren't involved in that. I bet you
fucking do. I mean, I not to fucking call yins out too much, but holy fuck. You know what I mean? If anything pops off, we're going to fuck whoever up comes to your door knocking. You guys should just be states.
Right.
That way we could come up there and hunt. And you guys could come down here and fucking vacation.
Wouldn't that be cool?
I would think it would be cool. I'd like to go to the other side of Niagara Falls without having to be a big fucking ordeal. You know what I mean? Needing a passport and a whole crock of shit. Come on now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because obviously that happened in our lifetime. You know, like
why do you think I'm salty about it?
I mean, we grew up being able to cross into Canada.
When I grew up to Canada, growing up as a boy in the fucking 80s and 90s. My dad would hook a 30-foot fifth wheel to the back of his Ford F-250 and pull the motherfucker to Canada.
Wow.
Once a year for a big camping rally. And we went right across the border with our camper and the dogs and every fucking thing, right?
They just checked you?
No, they were fucking nice as pie. You seen them at the border, don't get me wrong. Like, we talked to, like, custom agents and shit.
Oh, okay.
But, like, my dad, I don't know, my dad knows how to fucking handle himself. He's a retired Air Force veteran and shit.
But they did still monitor the border? Because I don't know if I've ever crossed into Canada.
Yeah, we had to cross the border, and it was kind of a thing. But it wasn't, like, a fucking thing. They were like, yep, how long are you going to be visiting? My dad's like, big camping rally at a certain fairgrounds. He knew where we were going, you know?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't lying. Obviously.
No, he wasn't fucking lying. We went up, we spent a week, come back down, you crossed back into the United States and went the fuck home.
Yeah, I wonder what changed that exactly. Like,
I don't know. Bullshit.
What was that?
9/11, my wife.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting, considering not what?
Well, yeah, that probably was our doing.
Yeah, who knows? I was in 8th grade when 9/11 happened. That's the other fucked up thing. Like, I didn't have nothing to do with that. I was in 8th grade. Why am I getting fucked out of the deal?
Well, it's, I mean, I don't know. I like to think it'd be pretty easy to vet people, but maybe not. I don't know. That's why I'm not a border agent, you know.
You think yeah. Maybe, like, I don't know if you could be like us and be like, hey, I know where everybody's buried at in my whole fucking family.
But that's actually funny because that's the whole thing. 9/11 is that I was watching this fucking thing and it was saying, well, technically the way that this thing, came down, that it could have used a direct energy weapon because that's something that could have,
Dude, watching those towers fall down is so fucked up, and how they just turned to powder. And like, dude, they should have tipped over and fell into other shit. And like, they just perfectly fucking straight.
Yeah, like I literally this thing had a full breakdown of like down to like the weight of how much cement and steel and everything that was in this building.
Marble and glass, and it was crazy. Elevator cables and shafts
and what it boiled down to is that how with all of this material that all that was left of that debris was pretty much dust. I mean, like it pretty much turned everything to dust.
Yeah.
Like I mean, it was essentially a sediment at the end of it. You know what I mean? Like there was literally almost nothing solid left.
When you rewatch some videos, it's going to dust in the fucking air as it's happening on the way down.
Yeah, it's fucking strange. And again, like I don't know anything about anything, but it's like, to think about how things play out, and now we know about government politics overseas and about how, you essentially as a government do things to kind of keep people in line and keep people in control. Seems like it kind of makes a lot of sense. I was just watching this fucking thing. No, I won't even get into that. That dude was fucking nuts. But it was all true. It was literally all true about this fucking dude. He was found.
He said that dude was nuts.
Well, he was deemed. They literally took him off, and fucking like pretty much 302'd him because he was like in the lobby of a Trump hotel and like at a standoff with police and all of this stuff. And whenever they apprehended him, he was saying that the reason that he did this was to get the attention of Trump because he was actually a sex slave of P. Diddy and his girlfriend, and that in all of these encounters that he had with him, he had learned about the black, what do they call it, black bourgeois, and the Illuminati and all these things, and about how he knew about the Trump assassination. And this was like 2019. This was way before this last election run and the Trump assassination, all that shit. So like this was years ago. And he was talking about Diddy and the sex slave and the freak off parties and all this stuff, and everybody just thought he was fucking nuts. Well, now, whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years later, all this stuff's coming out. Trump was shot, all this stuff.
Oh,
so now they're looking back at this guy, and it's like, oh my God, well, how much of that shit that he was talking about is really, really true? They're P. Diddy's part of this, like, black Illuminati, and that's the only reason he's been able to stay enriched and famous, because he really doesn't do much of anything anymore. He hasn't really been relevant as far as music in a very long time. All of his stuff is, running drugs, and that's what he's saying, that all these guys, coordinate with their private jets and all these celebrities to run drugs. It's all just running bricks and bricks and bricks of drugs.
I wouldn't be fucking surprised.
Because there's no clearance checks on a private jet.
Right.
Like, nobody's fucking checking anything, so it's just, they said it's just all like, deep drug fucking laundering and all this stuff, like drug smuggling, I guess.
I'm not the biggest fan of any celebrities anymore, though. I'm not.
Well, I was talking to somebody about it today, and actually it's like, boy, I don't know who said it first, but whoever said that money is the root of all evil, boy, didn't they know fucking
well,
something.
They printed it right on the goddamn US dollar. If you fold it up right, it'll fucking spell it out for you right on the fucking currency.
Yeah,
root of all, it's fucked up.
It's like, man, like to see how
you could probably stitch this in too. Look this shit up because it's already out there on the internets forever. The fucking way you can fold our currency up shows you them towers falling down and everything. It's fucking crazy.
$20 bill, you can fold it into the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And
I used to be able to do it myself.
Coincidence or like...
Fucking or they just keep slapping you with the big red, white, and blue dick in the face, like George Carlin said fucking in the 70s.
Well, it's like we know that that's essentially like almost like a form of desensitizing you to what's coming, or what we would now call like kind of grooming a little bit.
Grooming,
like
indoctrination.
You just give them little drops of the truth, and in that way, whenever it comes out, it's like you're almost used to it or almost a part of it already. It's like
Jesus, bro. I watched this fucking creepy shit on it. This is kind of shifting gears, but it's going to go back to blaming the government for just being scumbags. I watched this crazy fucking show on a sci-fi channel years ago when I had basic cable. I believe called Ascension. And I don't know if I have to say the right thing. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday where a guy kept stitching in all kind of shit, and all he had to do was put the title down. Apparently, you can stitch in any fucking video if you just show the title. Maybe you'd know, or I don't know.
Okay. Well, but, you mean like to avoid fucking...
Copyright shit, yeah. But in that movie, or it was like a 3-part miniseries, dude, these people think they're on a 200 or some year mission into space. But they're literally supposed to have children. They're the descendants of people who were already on the mission, okay? And they're like waking up middle mission or whatever. They only remember their last 20, 30 years of life or whatever. They've always been on this fucking mission. And they're supposed to have children and everything else and teach them. And they will explain the mission and everything. And they're going into a 300-year mission into space. And something happens with this one guy and he gets in trouble and shit. And like the police thing to do is to space you. To fucking kind of like put you in a chute and dump you out. And they do that to this motherfucker. And that's where the plot twist takes place, like day 2 of the thing, right? Because he's falling and he's falling, he's fucking screaming as he's falling through the stars, and you're like, what the fuck is going to happen to this dude? Like, he's just fucked, right? Gone, right? And he lands on a fucking mat. Yeah. And some fucking big-ass military dudes come running out, fucking grab his ass, yank him the fuck out of there, like... And next thing he's in a fucking debriefing tank, dude. I'm like, what? God. last 30-some years of my life have been a fucking lie, and like that's when all the government people are standing around talking about like, how the fuck do you think we invented Velcro, microwave ovens, radar to sit? Like, if you put fucking 50 or 60 of the brightest people in a fucking room forever, you get amazing inventions and creations and all kind. I'm just
and that's like, I mean, like it's been touted out like, wow, the simulation. But if you look at what a simulation really is, running a simulation is essentially a diagnostic thing. It's like if you run so many simultaneous simulations, you're going to get, profound results, and that's where like, man, I'm like, dude, this is all just bullshit. This is all fucking.
It's fucking, dude.
It's all just a fucking processing of I believe the simulation theory very much, but I had this fucking weird thought today. It was like just before I probably fucking got sick and threw up. See, I was too close to the truth. I literally got sick today, dude, and had no explanation for it at all. It was terrible. It was
just too close to enlightenment.
But I'm like, man, like, like the whole process of this, like, I mean, like our whole purpose is to either find ourselves spiritually and become, a peace-loving entity, a biological fucking creature, or we create this, symbiotic technology that just starts the process all over again. Because again, if we would keep advancing the way that we are right now, and we create AI and all this stuff, and I mean, it's very close right now, even with video games, that like, these video games in virtual reality are almost indistinguishable from real reality. It's only a matter of time before you make it symbiotic to be able to be like haptic suits like now, where you can feel what you're seeing and touching in VR. There's only a couple hundred years, if most maybe, before it's like really that you can't tell whether you're in a simulation or in the real fucking tangible world. So who's to say, one, we're not already there? So it's like we either have a choice, I think, as this biological fucking thing to either do that, just keep creating this new mainframe, a new fucking computer chip, essentially, a new AI, a new process to advance that civilization, or we're just here to essentially excrete biological matter, because that's all we are. We're just a fucking little ball of fucking shit that consumes and consumes and consumes, and eventually we feed ourselves to the planet anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like almost like, just this weird biological process where we're here to advance this fucking technology so that this fucking stupid weird creature can go do it somewhere else, and it's like we're literally just food for the fucking earth. Like, we're just here just to make that happen and, feed the planet, become fucking food again, and it's just a weird thing. It's just a really weird fucking process.
It is. I mean, whatever you believe, it is. It's
I like
very
that visual though, because that's how I feel like whenever you die, you're like in a chair, or like you're hitting the mat. You're like, well, what'd you think? Like you were in there for 10 minutes. What'd you think? We call that fucking life on Earth or whatever the fuck.
Right? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Now we're gonna do something way better.
That is cool. Let's do that again.
Cool. Fuck! I don't even want to do that again. You mean there's way more to this?
Right.
Fuck! Let's go.
I'm telling you, dude. It's like I love to entertain that thought, dude, because realistically, like, you start to look at things and how they happen. Like, there's almost no logical explanation for it whatsoever.
Dude. I want to know something to shift gears to that, but I still think it goes along the same lines of just a fucked up theory, okay? When her and I were driving out to that Civil War thing today, we went by some equipment, and I can't, being the sawmill boy that I am, I can't help but fucking turn heads to anytime I see a big heavy equipment and shit, and I'm like, fucking drills is what they were on tracks and shit, but I have to fucking laugh, because I'm like, we as a species are just like, I'm going to fucking just drill into the face of the earth.
Right.
For fucking until whatever happens. And we find water and oil and natural gas and like, what are we, like, we're fucking wild as a species. And like, who thought of all this shit?
Well, imagine if you fucking went to the fucking jungle and you seen monkeys, you know what I mean, like fucking drilling into the earth, and you'd be like, what the fuck are they doing?
Yeah. But here we are, down here, like, fucking with our shoe in and our fucking boots on, our hard hat.
Evolution, brother. We're fucking gonna either go down or up.
But like, too, I was telling her today, I need to get a new laptop computer and shit. If you listen to the channel and you fucking work at Best Buy, fucking throw us some shit.
Fucking Best Buy.
I don't even, that's how fucking illiterate I am. I was telling her, though, you're going to have to use that kind of shit or you're going to get left behind.
Yep.
Like, even me, I need to start, they asked me to do some different things at work, and I just need a computer. Like, I have a desktop computer at home, and it does a good job, but I'm going to need a laptop computer and shit. You're either going to join that, like, because I was the last of that 80s resistance, like,
You'll never need it. You never thought you'd ever fucking need for it.
And then I was in the wrong industry. Being in the sawmill and lumber industry, right? I was with a lot of them guys them 60-year-old hardened men that were, I don't even know how to fucking turn one of them on. And I'm never going to fucking know how to turn one of them on.
Yeah, just people that have no desire to get with it.
Yeah, but now I'm realizing that that's the way it's going to go. At the end of the day, nobody wants to go out into the yard and scale 1,000 logs or more and write it all down on a fucking piece of paper and then go in and, no, I have a handheld computer that I can fucking download into this computer, and in a fucking microsecond, we can have all that data up in front of us on a fucking screen or into a spreadsheet.
Are you scanning packs? Like
logs. Like, I would be dealing with just individual logs on my end. But scanning packs and all, like what you're saying, is all done the same way. We use a vision tally system. You don't even, like, when I started tallying lumber, I used to sit in an old rickety chair at the end of the pack on the floor, and I had a fucking 18 or 20 inch ruler on a computer that was like fucking screwed to the computer, and you measured the end of every board and entered it. Now we just set that thing down in front of a fucking laser scanner and back away from it, and it just goes beep, beep, and it does its thing a few times up and down, and I don't exactly know what it does, but it tells you how much footage is in that pack of lumber.
Do they paint the fucking end for that?
No, not at that point. End paint lumber would come at the end of the process after it's already been kiln dried.
Is that just to market what it is? I mean, like
it's just to preserve it from getting any fucking moisture back in it after it's been kiln dried, because the ends are where moisture would go in, and it gives it a really nice look. Yes, it's like even a branding. On the end of the
pack and shit. They obviously logo the side of it and shit. I didn't know, like. So that scanner, that can just tell the end of a fucking board. It'll tell you how many boards.
It knows how many, when that fucking whole scanner's done running, it knows the thickness of the board, if you have 2 lengths or 4 different lengths in that pack, it can differentiate all them different lengths. It can tell you the width and length of every single individual fucking board in the entire pack, how much footage would be there, how much weight.
One side, right? You don't do the front of it and then the side of it or the top. You just one side.
Just each end. It sits in a box type thing. I hope
that's so weird.
You'll probably be able to find, or if not, I'll just send you some pictures of it and you can stitch them in post production.
Yeah, because sometimes trying to find something online, because again, like when I was looking at like just basic processes of the whole thing, it's like, well, you find things like on Google that are like stock imagery that are like of the highest end of fucking production, like.
Or that.
Nobody has like that here, like.
Right. Let's get what it actually is. So, yeah.
Well, that way it's relevant to what we're talking about, and that way people don't have a misconception of
what it's doing. But, somehow that thing with the laser.
It's amazing. What I mean, like in that technology, I mean, like I'm sure that there was somebody that probably fucking resisted that too at some point,
Absolutely.
But, because like I even took a stint where I wasn't tattooing and I went to work at Walmart just because I needed a completely drastic change from what I was doing, and when we first got in there was a system for how you kept track of all your inventory and everything you had on hand. Well, then as I was leaving, they were switching everything over to what they would call like a VizPick thing. And everything was a QR code at that point. Which mass resistance, because obviously the old system, everybody knows how to fucking work it and everybody knows how it fucking processes and how to deal with it not working and how to troubleshoot it.
Yep.
And whenever you change over to something new, obviously you got to learn something new and the new bugs and how to deal with it. But boy, is it efficient, because I literally could just go, I'd know everything on that rack, dude, and how many boxes of shit. It's like, boy, that literally would have taken me an hour to do.
You might have heard the way I said, as soon as you brought up QR code, because, like, shout out to fucking Rob Rice. He set something like that up at our mill.
Okay.
That, like, you go up to a machine center, and there's all these QR codes. You click the QR code with your fucking phone. That's how QR codes work. Right. Any smartphone fucking camera works. You click that, and it brings up that whole machine center in front of you. You can fucking put in a work order. You can put in service, maintenance, all this shit. Like, it's fucking awesome. It
blows your fucking mind.
Yeah,
you're
like, you know, fuck, this is so easy. I used to have to go tell Jake, and Jake told Paul, and Paul said, fuck, I forgot. And that was where it ended. Now it's generated, it's in a computer, it goes out to multiple people.
And it's verifiable like that by anybody. Hey, you're down there right now. Can you check? It's like literally, it takes 2 seconds to fucking check it.
Yeah.
So like it's really cool to see, like, again, because I would have never really even thought about how that would have trickled into the logging and timber industry unless we would have reconnected. Because again,
right.
You think that what's older than trees and cutting down trees, like what's going to change with those systems? You wouldn't think that anything would have had to progress for that,
Well, and that's what I love about the company I do work for, is they are open-minded to that. When I worked at other companies in my life, like one different time when I worked at a mill in Brookville, I walked in and I was like, oh, this will just never do. Like, I started looking at the green chain and stuff and the way it was set up, like, because I know I can make this more efficient. This ain't the fucking way you do this.
That's what it's all about.
And they dug their fucking heels in so hard.
Well, like, who the fuck are you to come in here and tell me different?
Needless to say, that's why Matson shut their mill down, because that's who we're talking about. Jeez. But it was like, dude, I could set you up. You just don't. There's just simple ways of doing stuff that I was just taught over the years. Well, like, for example, right at the beginning of the line, what do you want? The board that you're going to get the absolute most of, or the board that might come every once in a while? I want the board that comes only every once in a while. When the shit gets down the line and you can get a better handle on it, that's where I want that 90% of boards, the prime and the one common that you're just going to be getting slammed with. That way you got time to work. Okay. These dickheads would set the line up with fucking 8 and 10 foot prime lumber side by side at the front. Now you better get 2 guys up there that know exactly what they're doing and are prepared to work their dick off for 10 hours straight. Why wouldn't you spread that out and make it eat? Like, shout out to Brownlee's for teaching me the fucking right way to do things.
Well, and whether you agree with it or not, it's like, boy, if your competitors are fucking getting with the times, they're just going to fucking run laps.
That's why people just run laps around other businesses. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, especially because, like, when you're dealing with that, I mean, you can look at it on paper and you can tell exactly how much board feet you're producing by the day. And it's like, boy, if you're looking at numbers and somebody's...
Or anything. Yeah. Anytime that somebody speaks on efficiency, and I think that's why people who do the best listen to other people. I'm humble enough to admit that I suck.
Oh, yeah, right.
Isn't that the best way to be? And that way, if you come to me and you're like, hey, I seen something you're doing, and you should try this, I can either say, I've already tried that, it don't work, or better yet, B, I can go, I never fucking thought of that.
Right.
What the fuck? All right, I'm going to try it.
And you see how much you gain from just having an open mind.
Yeah.
Again, it's like, I don't have any pull in the lumber industry, but we could sit here and talk, and I might be able to say something, you're like, the same thing, like, wow, I never really thought about it that way. It's like, so if you're not opened up to different perspectives, then you're really going to be fucked in the long run, because things change. That's just how it goes. I mean, and unfortunately, like, we see it. We're now getting older, and thankfully we grew up in this curve of the technology and everything kind of advancing and making things easier, and the challenges and kind of adapting to it. But it's like those other people are left behind, so it's like, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like, do you want to just get old and fucking slower and more decrepit and more bitter about all the shit that's getting, easier?
Or do you want to be on the edge of it?
Because I read something the other day, and it's like, the people that are like, angry at like the youth and the people that come up now and have all of this access and how things are easier now. It's like, really, it's like you're mad that they have opportunities and things are easier than what they were whenever you had to go through it. It's like, so realistically, you should be glad that things are getting better. It's like, so if I met somebody today, like, that's like me being mad that, like, wow, I couldn't get my equipment on Amazon back when I was a kid. I had to fucking, really fucking try hard to get my hands on some equipment. It's like, well, yeah, now it's easier, and I can be mad at that, but it actually makes me more excited because, again, I mean, more tattoos, more tattoo industry, it's all good for me, even if I'm not in it. It's like, I look at the bigger picture in a lot of things, and, like, I don't have any ego when it comes to this kind of shit. Like, so... Again, we're still on we're on the fence. We're not old, we're not young, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, for anybody that's older, I mean, like, fuck, you got to get with it, especially, like, if you plan to maintain, any kind of relevance in it, if you're going to keep doing it, why not make it easier? Like you said, you're saving my back if you come in here and tell me, you know what, we're going to automate this whole process. Be mad. You're going to go home not sore.
Well,
like, what are you mad about?
Oh, man, no, and I told the guy, one of the things that's happening here, not to cut too much out of sawing logs, which, you know what I mean? That podcast is coming, so if you follow this show and you don't want to hear about logging all the time, you can watch that.
Skip ahead 10 minutes and we'll put this in the bonus material of your show or something.
But, one of the things we're talking about is some of that kind of technology coming in. They're going to get like what they call a sorter system. So the guys won't have to actually stack the lumber as much. It will run through a bin sorter. The bin sorter will move the lumber, and then they will stack the lumber with a machine. Well, you hear guys who exclusively stack lumber, when they hear this, they go, how the fuck am I buying baby formula? What? Right. No. Like, they don't want to hear that shit, right? And I'm like, listen, do you know what this creates? No. Like, you ever seen one of them run? No. And you start explaining, well, it makes it so much faster here and here that you're going to need 2 or 3 good guys to grade and inspect lumber. You're going to need 2 or 3 good guys to run the stacker system. And now you need 2 or 3 good guys to run forklifts just to keep up.
Right.
You're not losing your job. You're just going to get a better one.
Right. You'll be redistributed because you're essentially taking out the grunt work and allowing people to have better jobs, better
and
positions.
More efficiency and faster. And it's actually it's a better thing. You have to keep an open mind.
I mean, with anything, if you're going to introduce automation, obviously you're increasing production, which is going to just end up essentially needing more hands on it at some point of the process. You know, like we talked about before, you can't eliminate humans from it entirely.
Right.
At least not, I don't think in our lifetime. I don't think we have to worry about that too much. You know, now I'm excited for everything that it makes easier, man. And again, like, you know, we could, you know, sit here and talk about like that fucking drone, dude, is literally like this big. One button, dude. Because what I was thinking, I was like, boy, what I would like to do is almost think of a way I can make a little video and almost desensitize my guests that are coming in here for the first time. You know, so what I would like to do is I was like, man, a little tiny follow drone that could follow me through narrow hallways of the house and shit. I'd fucking pop that thing up in the driveway and I'd say, welcome to the wine cellar. Follow me. And then I'd just walk up here and sit down, you know, and have that fucking drone essentially be the POV, point of view as a guest, coming up through. That way, be like, oh shit, okay, I feel like I've already been here before. I was like, boy, wouldn't that be fucking neat?
That is so cool.
You're following me up the steps, you know, which I could just have somebody follow me up the steps I could do it. But I was like, you know,
it would probably shoot a better angle.
And I could use the drone for a billion other things. You know what I mean? So it's like,
just the excuse to get it and do the first. That's its maiden voyage.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and it's so cool because again, I would use it like I would pop that thing up, and I wanted a follow drone for riding BMX and stuff because for your cinematic shots and like I said, like I ride streets, so like my favorite thing is like bam, new city, I'm going down alleyways and new streets, and like you said, the experience of being on your feet or being on a bike compared to like in a car. You're seeing everything, every corner of everything, every sign. You know, you're brushing shoulders with the people that are walking on the street. So it's like to get that perspective without me having to hold a camera or somebody else hold a camera, I could ride through town or a new city hands-free and have that follow me would be sick. Now, I don't know how it would work on a motorcycle at higher speeds and, you know, because again, it's just a very base level drone, but it has a bunch of add-ons. And what's cool is like if you buy the remote and then eventually which it uses your phone and your app on the remote if you don't want to buy the one with the screen. But if you upgrade the drone, it all works with that same remote. So you only have to buy the remote once, you know, if you upgrade the drone. Because they have ones that are like entry level $200. They go up to $400, which is essentially just better quality camera, longer flight time. Some of them come with extra batteries, which is a key.
That's the key, and that's going to be where the money's at.
But I want to get you camered up for sure on your motorcycle for this summer. I want to, you know, like I said, get out because I mean I could easily mount. I have 2 GoPros. I have, you know, 3 regular cameras. I mean, like, so I could mount up cameras, and we could ride in calm enough areas to where like I could get real close to you with my camera mounted on one bike and I'm shooting you on your bike. You know what I mean? We could get some side by side shots.
Yeah.
But to have a hands-free, you know, like, because, again, we could probably do 1 GoPro on you, 1 GoPro on me. And then, like I said, I made a fucking rig for my car one time just to go out and just get, like, literally a couple shots.
I am saving for an Instastick, one of them 360s, but you need to even tell me how much they cost. I'm going to let you pick it out because you're the shopper.
I'll find you one that's obviously, it doesn't, you know, because most of these you're buying the name brand and you're buying the bullshit, you know, like, so in most cases, like, I can find you the best way to spend your money.
Money, exactly. Like, I want a good one that's not a piece of shit, but I don't need it to just because it says fucking whatever on it, you know what I mean?
Well, it's like, just like with that drone, I mean, like, whenever I found that drone, I was like, man, that thing's like pocket size. It has the follow technology. I don't have to control it. So I went online and I watched 10 videos of people reviewing it. You know, it's like, okay, was this thing even worth the shit? You know, like where is its pitfalls and where, you know, because again, buying one for that price range as compared to
Harbor Freight sells them for $30, but you had better only be playing with it in your yard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I almost bought a fucking $900 one, you know, but at the same time,
Jesus.
it's like, well, they're also, you know, this big and they fly for 30 minutes. And this is whenever I was doing the van life shit. I wanted it to follow me while I'm driving my car through the Smoky Mountains.
The guy who's chasing real race cars and shit with his, I guarantee you that thing's over $1,000.
100%.
Yeah, because it'll follow a race car 90 mile an hour down the track and shit.
Well, and some of them, like, there's so many different ones now. Some of them you have to wear a wristband so that way it can coordinate your location and follow you that way. Some of them have facial recognition.
Right.
I have a tripod that has facial recognition. You know, literally, like, I have a camera on it, and if I'm walking around, it follows me. You know what I mean? Like, I can walk over here and it follows me. I can walk over... Yeah, it's fucking...
What should I get into for cameras? What do you recommend for cameras?
This is the best quality that you can get.
Hi, because I'm going to get a real good...
This is the cheapest that you can buy with the quality that's going to actually work for what you're doing. So these are just webcams, and I have 2 of them. I mean, like, obviously, if you want to do more than that, there's other ways to do it. Like,
the funny thing is that you said about the American flag, when you sent me that message, I have a brand new one. I said to her last night, I have this American flag, and then shout out to Aunt Sue. She got us this really freaking cool flannel throw.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a flannel sheet.
Like red flannel?
Like lumberjack flannel. Perfect. How ironic.
Yeah.
That I need a lumberjack fucking backdrop. And I'm like, Aunt Sue just gave us a lumberjack fucking flannel throw. I might be able to use this in the studio somehow for sawing logs.
And, like, again, like, obviously you'll have to just kind of play around with, like, chairs, things like that, how you kind of want to sit and be positioned with your guests if you want to do the futons. So, like, with that backdrop, like, I'm sure you've seen enough podcasts now, you can determine, like, do I want the logo kind of between us? Do I want it behind me and not behind them?
Right.
You know, like, if you look at, like, Rogan's, his backdrop
looks
completely different than his.
Yeah,
they just have a curtain.
You know? Same way your backdrop is completely different than my backdrop.
Essentially, right. I mean, like, and I honestly, like, I stressed about that a lot. Like, well, mine has all of this shit, and that really has nothing. But, like, you know, like, I'm really happy with the way that it looks, and I've changed this, dude, probably more times than I can count. You know, I've rearranged it 100 times. I've moved things around. I've had the table in every corner of this room.
Okay.
The TV used to be up on the fucking slant wall, and, you know, like, I mean, if you watch back, like, I mean, I've moved it about quite a bit. So again, like,
it was funny. Me and you were talking about that privately the other day. I said it was so crazy, the evolution of the studio.
Yeah, it's the only way to know. But I've had this table since the very beginning, since the basement of the old house. You know, and, like, I almost fucking left it, and boy, like, this thing is fucking the perfect size.
I was going to say, if you would have left this, dude, you'd have hated yourself. This table's awesome.
You know? Well, and now it'll become, like, a piece of the show's history, like we said about that floorboard, you know, cutting it out. It's like little things like that. It's like, man, like, we're knowing right now that we're kind of, like, putting the stake in the ground, and we're starting something new, and, like, we could only hope that next couple of years, like, we're looking back at it like, holy fuck, man, like, you know, maybe this table is going to have a fucking logo on it. It'll just be a part of the, you know, decorations if I get a new table or something. You might make it into something else. You know, so yeah, it's just going to be trial and error. Like, I'm hoping I can get down there.
I'm still going to have you down there at some point.
The best time is, like, right after I pay the second rent. Because I get this little grace period where I'm not losing my fucking mind. You know what I mean? Like, once I've paid that second rent, which I have it set up to where I usually have that paid on the 5th. So that way they're not killing me both at the same time. Because everybody wants it on the 1st. I'm like, you know what? Everybody wants it on the 1st, you fucks.
And I have a fucking business to run, so.
I'm like, right, what are you going to do? And I have a fucking, you know, all kinds of shit I'm responsible for. So, like, thankfully, everybody's very, very fucking understanding and cool. So I make that work. So, like, anyway, between, like, the 5th and then the 10th. See, isn't that weird how small my little piece of fucking serenity it really is? It's only 5 days, because once it gets to the 10th, and I've said this before, like, once it gets to the 10th, especially the 15th, we're in the middle of the month, depending on how many days there are, I'm like, you know, like, gotta make it. But it's like living with that urgency is the only reason that I've been able to be so successful. If I just sat around and fucking jerked off all day, I'd be fucking nowhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, so, like, I I fucking, again, credit my dad to being like, get the fuck up and do something. Like, again, my mom made me the social butterfly that I am and allows me to be able to do this and be able to put myself out there. But my dad really
made you the worker.
He made me work hard,
I get that, dude, because my dad was the exact same way. He owned his own business. Them logs weren't going to haul themselves. I watched that man get out of bed at 2 a.m. and come home at fucking 6 o'clock at night every day for 40 fucking years.
Well, and now when you start putting a little bit of time into maybe doing your own thing too, like I said, you're going to feel such a different balance between, like, I just put in 8 hours, at this job, but I put in 10 hours in my own place, and like, boy, that didn't even feel like work. You know what I mean? I put in more time, worked harder, spent more time doing that, but because it was my own business, my own shit, boy, it just felt so good to do it. Like I said, investing in yourself is so different than somebody that at any point could cut you off, because unfortunately in business, there's nothing personal about it. And like, sometimes it just comes down to just cost of doing business. Maybe it's just not working to have you on the payroll right now. We got to let you go. Well, to have something to fall back onto is like, everybody, like I said, should do something.
Everybody should do something.
I tried to get my mom and dad to start like a non-profit because they already rescue fucking, they probably rescue 100 fucking animals a year. And
she might as well just have a kennel and do,
They do. They do it all out of pocket. They literally buy dog food by the pallet because they have 9 dogs that are personal dogs that live in the house, but then they have like 15 to 20 working dogs that work on the property, and then my dad also takes in and houses dogs that he's training to do bird hunting. So, I mean, anywhere from 10 to 30 dogs at any given time at that property.
Wow.
And they have 7 acres that my dad has turned into an oasis for fucking animals and dogs. And
it's that's awesome.
It's beautiful, So, like, but I'm like, man, you guys are so stupid. $150, file the paperwork, non-profit. You might be able to get some fucking help or some grants or some donations or something.
Yeah, people love a good cause.
Well, especially because they're not doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it out of pocket, and they're funding it themselves. They're not asking for any help from anybody. And like my mom, again, is so good with like social media. Whenever I still had the tattoo shop down towards Katanning, like there would be times where like she would be rehoming dogs or rescuing dogs in a different state, and she would go to social media and say, hey, would anybody like to chip in and help this dog get to where it's going and get its shots? And like influx of people would help this dog find a new home, and like I would drive them to the state of Indiana, state of Ohio, state of Buffalo, and I would take my BMX bike. I'd hit every skate park on the way. It was a free trip for me.
Fuck yeah!
Like, I got to fucking take.
And you got to hang out with a doggo that's going to fucking better.
And you get to meet the person. Like, hey, here's your animal that otherwise would have never been able to get to you. Like, here's your new best friend.
Only fucking saps like us would like that.
It's so cool. It's like, man, what? Again, like anybody that says it's hard to travel just isn't thinking. Because like realistically, you can do a lot of things.
Here's the one thing that I got to do in the midst of my life before I was just always a stay-at-home sawmill boy. I used to work for a company out of Brookville, Pennsylvania, you know this, that cleaned the fucking air conditioning for Walmart.
Okay.
So I've been around the block.
Right.
I've washed every goddamn air conditioner from Presque Isle, Maine to Miami, Florida on the fucking East Coast. If you have Walmart, I've been to your fucking town. And I got to see a lot of shit and do a lot of cool shit, like doing that job, And like, when you travel, like, that's the coolest thing about being with me, I guess. Like, she knows, if you watch the show, I drove to fucking New Orleans on my honeymoon. Like, people tell me, like, oh, it's far away, and I used to think, me and my buddy used to look at each other like, fuck, we could be to Bangor in 14 hours pulling a 40-foot trailer. What do you mean?
It's just one of those things, too, that she might not have ever had a real reason to go. Or, again, you make every excuse not to go, But now knowing you and being with you, it's like, boy, her horizons have expanded tenfold. And
her parents were big on traveling, too, so she's actually not afraid to travel. Okay. But some people are.
Well, I mean, by yourself.
I've been around people who are like, oh, you've been to Ohio? What? I used to go to Ohio. I go to fucking Ohio because that used to be the only place to get good chicken wings.
Dude, I was going to say, I used to go to Ohio just because in one fucking small town of Ohio has this Goodwill, dude, that it's literally it's like Trump's Goodwill, dude. It's got all the shit in this fucking Goodwill is like brand new. They're selling brand new, like, Ashley furniture couches for like $15 a pop because they fucking have to get rid of them. They don't have enough floor space to keep all the shit they get.
What?
Yeah, they must be liquidators or something on the fucking side or something because they get so much stuff. And it's like, this stuff is brand new furniture. I mean, like, this stuff is
Wow.
like full bedroom sets. I mean, oh my God. Like, I literally thought about buying or renting a U-Haul and just running
Right.
the fucking furniture for a fucking couple weeks just back and forth. Because the way that they sell stuff at these Goodwills and the way that they thrift here,
Yeah.
boy, like, it's so expensive to shop at the Goodwills anymore around here because it's like everything's so expensive. It's like, boy, I could really be fucking hustling shit on Marketplace, just going up to Ohio once a month and filling a truck.
And that's why I won't really donate to them no more. Her and I were talking about that. Like, I'm not giving stuff to Goodwill.
Goodwill.
They're a full retail store. If I want to give shit to a good cause, I'm giving it to Salvation Army because if your house burns down, the Salvation Army's giving you shit for free.
Yep.
They're going to help you out. Goodwill ain't helping you out. They're just a fucking store.
For real, man. And like,
Hate
it's
to say
really
that
bad
about you, Goodwill, but you fucked up a little bit.
It's like any good cause. There's going to be snakes at the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I worked at a Goodwill whenever I was probably doing community service. I think is how I first got that job, working at Goodwill. And somebody had found like $1,500 in a fucking pants pocket or something like that, and they ran and gave it to the manager. What do you think happened to that money?
Like, when I was gonna say,
I'll turn that in.
No, here's a fucked up story.
Like, what do you think,
the Goodwill in DuBois, Pennsylvania. I go in there one time because that used to be before I got married, where I bought my work pants. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna ruin these fucking blue jeans, greasing debarkers anyhow. So like that's where I bought my work pants. And in DuBois, they're a little bit more ritzy than Brooksville. So I'm in DuBois and I buy a couple pair of fucking jeans, and I think I paid like $4 or something for them, like 2 pairs of jeans. And I took them home and I found 2 $1 bills in the fucking one pocket. And I'm like, bet. That's free fucking jeans.
$2 is $2.
$2 is especially when
you're right. You only paid $2 for the fucking pants.
Yeah, I was like, that's fucking sweet. There was $2 in a fucking $2 per pant. But those days are gone.
I never get that lucky. I think I found money in a toy cash register one time at Goodwill, and I gave it to the fucking psycho that was working with me.
I don't know if I've given any money. I have no stories of gander finding large amounts of money. My mother one time was going up into the Hazen flea market. It's right in their fucking backyard out there.
Oh, yeah, right.
And back in the 90s, though, when it was really big and was really something, we were just there, her and I, the last one's fucking dead. I think there was 10 vendors maybe total. They were very bad.
Wow.
But anyway, Mom's like, I just seen a $1 bill laying there on the ground, and she's like, $1's $1. I'll spend that at the flea market. You know what I mean? She's like, I bent down to get it, and there was 2 20s rolled up inside it. It's $41 fucking on the ground. She's like, there's 1,000 people standing around. I'm not going to ask, is this yours? Of course they're going to say, yeah! She's like, so I just kept it and went up and got flowers.
The first person was like, yeah.
Absolutely.
I was just looking for that.
Yeah. So you ain't going to say not. You know what I mean? She's like, I just kept it. She's like,
I will say, my mom was in Reimersburg. I think she was going into the pharmacy right there where the laundromat is. But she had lost $100 fucking bill and didn't realize it until she was already home. She called the pharmacy. Somebody turned it in. Some fucking old guy had found it in the middle of the street, $100 bill, and actually went and turned it in. I was like, that is unbelievable.
No kidding.
Like,
guy I work with at the mill said that he found like $1 or a 5 or something one day. Now, mind you, this is in the 80s at Brookfield, but he found like a 5 or something, and he took it in the office at the mill and gave it to the lady at work, and he said, somebody in the parking lot dropped this. It ain't mine. And somebody come in and you know what I mean? It was there.
To date that, it would be like, I mean, maybe a 1 or a 5 might have been a good deal of groceries back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck, that might have been a
back then, dude, in the 80s, a $5 bill was your milk, your bread, and your fucking lunch meat.
Maybe not in the 80s, but it would have bought a hell of a lot more than now.
Yeah. We can know what we're talking about. And so her and I were out of town today, right? So we went to a grocer that's not around. So we went to Wegmans today.
Wegmans? Are they owned by Walgreens? That looks like a ripoff of a Walgreens.
No, it's Wegmans Grocery. If you live in New York State or any of that, you're definitely familiar with Wegmans. Okay? Wegmans. So let's see what a loaf of fucking bread costs today in 2025. $3. Soft Italian bread. I mean, maybe that's not horrible.
I'm going to look it up what it was in the 80s.
All right. Because my ass also spent $8 at Wegmans eating
51
pizza.
cents.
Now I feel like an asshole.
But that's fucking cheap. Imagine if you got a loaf of bread for 50 cents. You'd be like, what's wrong with it? Like, why is it only 50 cents?
Well, that's why I said, dude, in the 80s, I was pretty close then, Rhett. In the 80s, I said that $5 would have been your bread, your lunch meat, and your milk.
Yeah, it says even by 1984, the price of bread was still only 66 cents for a loaf of bread. That's way cheaper than that. I would have been surprised if it was under $1 because, like, you know, I mean, I was born in the 80s. I don't know. I wasn't obviously checking grocery prices.
No, neither was I, but fuck, they was doing okay.
60 cents.
We should have a loaf of bread on the table back in the 80s for 60 cents.
Yeah, right. Well, you think about common necessities, your eggs, your milk, your fucking bread. I mean, like, if you can't afford that, what the fuck are you getting, you know? And that's where, like, you know, again, not to get into politics, but it's like, at least somebody now is talking about, like, well, why is it that the most unhealthy foods and the worst stuff for you is the cheapest and the most affordable? So you end up with a whole systemic, like, population of people that are on welfare that are just unfortunately have no choice but to be unhealthy because the only thing that they're approved to get is the shit.
The shit.
You know?
Isn't it fucked up that being healthy and being in good shape nowadays is a symbol of being rich? Being skinny equals rich. Being fat equals being poor. And I fucking hate to say it that way because it's a shame. It shouldn't be that way. Or you're just like me and you and you're fucking starved. Right. That's the only reason we're skinny.
You know, but it's like, you know, if you can't even afford to take care of yourself, I mean, you're going to have a whole fucking population of people that are just in really, really poor fucking health. Yeah. You know, and you make it almost impossible for people to actually maintain some physical well-being, you know.
Well, not to name any big name people, but fucking Rogan had Aaron Rodgers on there on a podcast just recently, a few days ago, that I was starting to listen to. And
he's interesting to listen to talk, man.
Yeah, dude, and they were talking about health and the food and all that shit, man, and it is just garbage. This shit should not be able to last for 20 fucking years in your cabinet. That's not natural or normal.
Yeah, they had an interesting point
we need to start eating fresh.
Realistically, you should only be storing stuff that you're going to have day to day for the most part, unless you're talking about like maybe canned goods and just sustaining for something happening. You know,
and I do get that, the whole doomsday prepper thing that we've wanted shit to last forever, but let's be honest, that ain't right. Her and I are back on trying to do...
Yeah, but they did that before preservatives. They canned shit and, you know... That's true. I could probably find something canned in the fucking hole of the fucking cement wall we were just looking at. It'd probably still be good. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, so there is a way of preserving stuff.
Absolutely. And then mason jars were probably way more healthy.
That's what I mean. It didn't have to be injected and coated with all of this stuff that's killing people and fucking with your hormones and, you know, creating autism and all of this stuff. Because that's what I mean. Like, they talk about this as a progression over the last 30 years, which is our lifetime. So it's like, well, these things just didn't exist when we were younger, you know, and maybe we just weren't aware of it, or maybe we didn't have something to call it. But it's like, you know, you're seeing like overwhelming numbers like of like cancer in kids and stuff that just like, that's not a natural progression of evolution like in our genetics. Like something's got to be causing these diseases and these illnesses to be rampant in children, people that haven't been exposed to anything yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, what the fuck is really going on?
And I'm tired of hearing, oh, we didn't test for it back then. That's why we didn't find it. Man, fuck out of here.
We're testing for everything. I mean, again, like maybe they just didn't have something to fucking call it, you know, but it's like, hell was I just thinking today that I was like, man, if that would have been, you know, that's probably autism. I fucking did something earlier. I was like, that's probably fucking, oh, I know what it is. No matter what, if I look at something, the word gold, my brain immediately, I'm like, I read it. I'll read it backwards. I'm not dyslexic, but I'm just curious. Does that make a word backwards?
Oh,
blog. You know what I mean? So like when I look at something, like I just, you know.
Do you know what I think I'm finding out about myself? Autism. At 38 years old, what? I'm finding out I might be dyslexic with numbers only.
Oh yeah.
I fucking every day at work because I run a piece of heavy equipment. I have to write down the hour reading. Okay. On a piece of paper because I do like a pre-shift inspection of the piece of machinery, okay? And it's right now it has like 7,600 and some odd hours on. And every day when I check it, I'll remember that number. But by the time I walk over, that takes me probably takes me 60 to 75 seconds to walk from where the loader is parked over to where I do the paperwork and then get the keys and shit for it. And I walked over there the other day and I'm standing there, I'm like, fuck. I just read it. What the fuck? What the fuck? And I wrote it down, and I mean, I write it every fucking day. You'd think I'd start to write. I literally said that 76
Is it the same number every day?
Yeah, well, close. It only varies by 10 hours that fucking Eddie puts on it before me. And I'm like, I wrote the number down. and did my paperwork, and I went back and I looked at the meter, and I'm like, how in the fuck did you write that down completely backwards? You just, yeah, 4676 I wrote down instead of 7. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then I went to do some calculations the other day with money for our bills, because fucking you have to pay bills at the end every week. And I wrote the numbers down, and I looked at it, and I'm like, you're fucking retarded. You're like, I think I might have some sort of weird form of dyslexia that's only with numbers. Maybe that explains why I never did good at math and shit in school. Because now I'm just smart enough to check it, but just dumb enough to not stop doing it.
Yeah, you're self-aware, but yeah, creature of fucking habit. But see, with that, so like, how many digits is that number? That hour reading on the machine? 4 digits. So the last 2 are really the only 2 you got to worry about.
Yeah. At least for a month.
That's a pretty
about
long
a month,
time.
And then it rolls out.
When you go in there, just look at the last 2 numbers. You just got to remember that last 2. Is it 41? Is it 42? Yeah, I mean, like you said, it doesn't change too much. So I mean, it's not like you're going to be off.
No.
Yeah. So if it's 1741 today, it's going to be 1751 or 50,
yeah.
I mean, so like.
Yeah, if they run a 10-hour shift, it should be 51 tomorrow. Yeah.
So see, my brain, I would just look at those last 2 numbers. I would just ignore that, knowing that this isn't going to change for X amount of days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, because it's the same thing with like if I'm going to tattoo you on your left side. Now I do this arguably every fucking day, and I know my left from my right, despite what the fuck people might think. Because if you're with me on a daily basis, you might think otherwise. But I do.
You do know your left from your right? Yeah. You know what differentiated it for me for sure? When I broke the motherfucker. Then there was no more, man. I know my left from my right. I broke that bitch.
So if I'm looking at your right arm, and I know I got to tattoo your right arm, and I sat down in my chair to tattoo your right arm, I can play it out in my head because I'm a visual guy. So I'm like, okay, right arm, sitting that way. I'm always wrong. I'm always backwards. I'm like, I fucking will get the whole fucking thing tuned up. Fuck, it's the other way. I need you on the other side. Shit, I gotta flip you. You know, it's like, how do I do this every time? It's like, so my brain is just like, I blame it on being left-handed or something like.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just really backwards. It's like I call it physical dyslexia.
There's like something to, yeah. Hey, that's cool.
The way I orient things, it's just like, man, I'm just habitually backwards, and it actually creates this situation to where even when I'm right, I am so convinced that I'm wrong that I'll flip it the other way. And I'm like, fuck it, I was right, damn it. I had it, and I fucking flipped it, and I'm gonna flip it again. Get up, you gotta get up. Hold on. Like,
I'm trying to remember if my wife had to get up. Did she have to get up?
I don't know. I mean, I probably did one of these, and that's where, like, you just seen it today. I just posted it today or yesterday. It was a year since I made it, but the shit tattoo artist.
That was great. I loved that little video. That was funny.
I've since made part 2. And in that one, I did that. There was like a fucking 10 or 15 second. I'm like, got it this way? This side? Right side? Left side? Okay, we got it. Oh, fuck. No, it's the other way. Like, fuck, no, I had it the right way.
Yeah. Well, that was great when you're like, are they here already? Or you're like, are they fucking here yet? Are they here already? If they're here early, I'm not doing it.
That's paying some homage to Roman Star. Shout out to Roman Star, the guy that I met young. He was tattooing my brother before I was even getting tattooed.
Okay.
Under the age of 18. But he literally was such a stickler that if your appointment was at 4 o'clock and you showed up at fucking 10 till, he would be so pissed that you showed up early. But if you showed up at 4:01, he's like, you're fucking late, I ain't doing it, this is fucking bullshit, I've been waiting all day.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, you just look for any excuse not to do it.
All right. And that's way back when I was on one of your other shows, I think I was having fucked up memory shit between you and your brother.
Oh, really?
I have to remember that I spent a lot of time with your brother when we were still in school, cutting up in fucking music class and art class. And oh, man, yeah, zero work got done.
I've read some of the reports.
Your brother could draw fucking sailboats when we were in school.
And trucks, too. Trucks
were fucking amazing. And he would be in class working on drawing, just like you. I think I heard you say something like, fuck you, every class is art class when you're an artist. Like, I'd be fucking drawing in history. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
and that's how he was. He'd be over there and he'd be like, Kyle, what are you... He'd act like he wasn't doing nothing, you know what I mean? He'd cover his shit up.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean, like that's something that again I forget about that too. But like when we were, because he moved out of our house even when I was still young and still in whatever.
Dude, I lost track of your brother when we were young.
So like he was actually very artistic and like he would draw. He liked to draw what he liked. So ships, trucks, anchors, but he literally would draw Mack trucks, Peterbilts. He loved.
Can he tattoo?
He could if he wanted to. That's one of the that's one of those things. If you don't start doing it, like.
But he's never ran ink on anybody.
Not that I know of. No. No, I've actually been trying to link up with him to try to get some of his stuff finished because again, he hasn't been tattooed.
Where the fuck is he? Local?
He's around. Yeah,
I want to see him if you tell him.
Yeah, that'd be legit. And that's what I talked about, like trying to figure out, like maybe after the 5th of it would be June, I guess, to plan that I can come down. Because again, I've got my mom is dying for me to come down and figure out a way that I can come down there and visit them.
I'll bring you.
So if I get down there, I might be able to coordinate it to where, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I really want to do this fucking outlaw thing that we talked about. Now, this guy just wants tattooed, but in retrospect, I'm like, listen.
I would set up, listen, if you can set that up, and I'll say this being recorded so you can help, I would help with her, with logistics of fucking, if we have to bring pizza, because like you said, we're going to have to take that to them. So that's going to take some doing.
The only way it's possible.
Yeah, the man's paralyzed. So
like that situation, he just wants to get tattooed. I would imagine that my mom, because she's his caregiver, this is how this is all kind of coming together. So my mom's working in home health right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know if you've ever met my mom. My mom's a fucking riot. So like this guy has every excuse in the world to just not, be happy about his life, So like, thankfully my mom has crossed paths with him because she gets him laughing all fucking day long, So it's like it's a very chill situation. And I told you a little bit about his background, and I would imagine that she probably told him about the podcast.
Yeah.
And I haven't presented it to him yet, but I feel like, unfortunately, with lack of a better phrase, is that in his position, what do you got to lose? Why not tell your story? Because you were fucking inches away from being killed because of the lifestyle that you were involved in.
Yeah.
And you fucking lived to tell about it. So it's like, I mean, if you died tomorrow, who's walking around telling your story and what you fucking believed and what you lived through?
And not for nothing. I mean, I'm the right guy to be involved, not to blow my own horn, but I'm the motorcycle enthusiast that's always had an interest in the outlaw motorcycle lifestyle, and I've read books about all of them.
And I thought maybe she would be able to bring an interesting element too, if maybe, like I said, if we were planning this and knew we were going to do it, maybe take some time and we'll all research a little bit of the history, about motorcycle clubs, even if it's not something we can find specifically about. The Outlaws.
Well, you said he was in the Outlaws,
but
right?
I would imagine that there's probably some material on the Outlaws and the Pagans.
There is.
And
I'll
stuff,
read on it. I've only ever actually read books on the Pagans and the Angels, but the Outlaws are from our area.
Right.
That's the funny thing. They control
and I mean,
our area.
I don't know. I mean, he would have to tell me, about things like what should we be sensitive of or say.
Yeah, that's like me. I don't want to say too much.
Because again, we're not looking to put, of course, some fucking organization like that out there on blast, but again, like he lived in that, and he's got stories and experiences that are very unique to him, and I think would be worthy of
here's
telling.
a question for you: can we do things to like block anonymity? I mean, I know you can do audio only, but can we do the cool shit like they used to do on 60 Minutes where it's only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you could do that shit or not.
Yeah, and obviously too, he could. I mean, the most simple way to do it would be to film him from the back. So you're just showing the back of his head, you're not showing his face, and you can
we could lapel mic it and then just
right.
Okay.
So like you realistically wouldn't be like that difficult to do if you really wouldn't want to show his face or even like
right,
because this guy.
But he's also not affiliated or anything anymore, and
And he was awarded, which I didn't even know that this was a thing, but he was awarded the equivalent of like a Purple Heart from his club, which I didn't again know that this is the thing, but obviously in a hierarchy in a situation like that, there's patches, then you earn them and you get them.
Yeah. I'm not affiliated.
He was awarded, essentially the equivalent of a Purple Heart from his club, and he wants to get that tattooed. So it's like, not only is this something that, again, I could do a tattoo, he's more than willing to pay me for my time, my travels, maybe we could get an interview out of it, maybe we could learn something, about this lifestyle and what he went through. But also, he'd be closing a chapter again, he almost lost his life because of the club and organization that he was in. It's like, he survived it, and now he's living life paralyzed. It's like, so at least he could have that. And he's got some other stuff he wants to touch up. It would be a hangout with my mom. It would be a lot of different things. It would be essentially, like I said, checking off about it.
A billion boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be really cool. I think it'd be a cool
Well,
experience.
when do you, let me ask you this. If it's a personal question, we'll talk about it off camera. Can you, take vacation? Can you shut down? Can you do, you got like you said, you got everything paid and all that, so that creates the problem.
In my, I'm calling it my lane now. In my lane, I'm the only one that I have to answer to at the end of the day. As far as obviously, if I take 5 days off and don't be productive, I know when I come back, I got to work twice as hard to make up for that time.
Right.
So it's like I try my best to do it in a place where it's going to cause the least amount of headache.
And have
obviously
balance.
too, because it's not like it's something I don't want to rush it. I don't want to cut it short. I don't want to, you know what I mean? So it would be something like I would want to almost set it up to where maybe I would be down there and spend a couple of nights or a night. My mom and dad have been trying to get me to come down there and spend a couple of nights, but that's
very tough. I get that.
Nearly impossible.
That's why I know with you, I've even thought about this because I know how kind of pushy I sound. But I'm like, I'm really, in reality, bro, you're 40, 45 minutes, an hour away. I need to run up here on a whatever.
And it could be at the crack of dawn.
Yeah,
you know
run up here early, pick you the fuck up. Let's get down there. Let's get this studio set up. Let's get things figured out. By fucking midday, we're having lunch and I can bring you home.
Right.
Doesn't need to be...
and that would make it easier too, because I also want to be able to document some of this too, because again, this kind of goes back to where documenting a little bit of the show's history and just kind of some B-roll stuff and some, we might have the chance to like I said, shoot some footage of you maybe on the bike, like I said, we might be able to figure something out while we're down there, and that way whenever I leave, you've got something to mold and mend with, because I can send you down there with a bunch of stuff, but I know that you're probably more excited to wait for me to come down and help you figure out where to set stuff up.
Exactly, I am. I'm really excited because, let's be honest, I am humble enough to admit that I want experience to just do. I can go down there and set up a studio. I already sent you pictures of me trying. But even last night, I got the computer situated. I got the desk situated.
I really like how it looked.
The table. I got the bookcase situated, and then I went, fuck, that don't work. But look, you know what I mean? I'm going to finagle.
You might not be thinking about it the right way either, because the way that you have that set up, it's like an L.
Mm-hmm.
So how I would have that be is that obviously you're the host. So essentially she would be behind the computer.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that's set up, you'd be sitting on the outside of that. That's where your chair would be, guest chair, backdrop would be there, she'd be moderating there, and then that bookcase would just be for maybe books on the woods, the Pennsylvania.
Yeah, for now I'm just going to put toys on it, but yeah.
Well, that's something you got a bunch of, tools and stuff like that we talked about would be cool for aesthetic and things like that, but I think that the setup looks really good. Now, one thing that I realized, now I was doing the basement and then I did it up here. Both times they didn't necessarily require me to paint. I did try to paint walls down in the basement, but again, walls first before you start moving a bunch of stuff in there. So if you do decide you want to paint or do a wall or do something with the wall, figure that out before there's a bunch of furniture to move around and deal with first, So that might be a thought too, even if it's just one accent wall or something, or again, if
we're gonna have to do something anyhow, because she says last night, she's like, I fucking hate this color.
Is that why you're looking over there?
Yeah, because she said it needed painted, and I'm like, fuck.
We could knock that out.
I told her, I said, all we need to do is go over to Lowe's and grab 2 gallons of paint the fucker, whatever you want to do, and then you keep saying about the wood accents and all that, and we're doing sawing logs, bro, I got fucking 1,000 feet of 4-quarter lumber in my own shed. I might as well do my own accents.
Do you have the thin stuff though that would be
I'll run it through a fucking planer and make it thin.
Okay, so what I like about that is the aesthetic is every piece different length, different width. You just fucking stagger the wall.
Oh yeah, all you gotta do is stagger it up,
and that shit looks so good. Even if you just leave it raw,
Yep.
And then again, you could do the backdrop on the other side to where maybe it's just on the side shot, because your logo doesn't have to be big blasted behind you. Like I said, I started to look at this over here. I'm like, man, I need to hang a bunch of stuff over there. But then I'm like, no, man, that wood, it's not, perfect, but that's what makes it fucking, it's got authenticity. It looks really, really good. It looks authentic. Like,
You can see
so
all through this wood too, and I mean, not all of it's on camera.
I want to get like,
you can see where they've replaced the boards over the years when they had the roof off. They were like, oh, it needs some new wood, and they replaced some, and
yeah, so
it looks good.
I kind of just stopped stressing about it and just let it happen organically. I want to get like a fucking big, like I need like a bison skull or something like that above the TV. Something just big and atrocious and something wild. I need like a something fucking big there instead of bison or something.
Well, we need something wild. Yeah, we just need something. We need to go to some. That's what I mean.
Oh my
too,
God!
so
wait
busy.
a minute! Fuck! As soon as you go, oh, you didn't bring the truck. Okay. So listen, well, those two pieces that are sitting down there by that store are still there too. Like I said, those would either be for your spot. You might use those for a false wall because that literally, like, sitting on its side is without a top. It literally is just like a news anchor desk.
All right.
Like, it's got a perfect L. It's got a little cut. I mean, like, it is such a cool and interesting piece. I should probably I could probably fucking find that road on Google Maps and you just do a flyby past it just so you can see it.
All right.
Trust me, it ain't going nowhere. It's been there for 6 months. But through that, and then also,
but somebody will hear this and take it.
Fuck you. I think I sent it to you, but there's a local bowling alley that's going out of business, and they're selling everything.
Their lanes.
That big
They're
going to
sell the lanes.
They have to pull everything. Even the lockers. They have walls of those cube lockers. $10 a piece. They all fucking snap and fit together. I'm like, God, for the fucking spa down there, I'd have a fucking locker for the towels.
I'm thinking
There's
now
so
that my mill
might... I mean, they have whole walls. Like, you know what a bowling alley looks like where they have all the lockers for your shoes?
That's what I mean. I'm trying to think of the Brookville bowling alley that you and I grew up going to.
So they've already pulled up all the panels of the lane.
I was going to say, what happened to all the fucking pool tables and the arcade games?
That's probably one of the first stuffs to go, but there's still display cases. There's still... I mean, they're selling so much shit. There's fucking disco and all of the party lights from the events and shit, $40 a pop. I'm like, I need them for in here and for downstairs and for doing live events, man.
Yeah.
Like, those are $300 fucking lights. Are selling for $40 a piece. And if I go in there with cash, I could probably say, hey, I'm buying a lot of this shit. Could you give me 10 on this, 10 on this? I'm buying a case. I got a truck. I mean, you just fucking go in there with a U-Haul, like I said, and fucking take everything. They're selling the lanes and everything. It's
That's crazy.
In the seating. The restaurant booths. I'm like, fuck, how cool would that be for a fucking little show where you're just sitting in a little diner booth, a little 50s booth, talking about fucking shit. God,
oh, man.
There's just so many possibilities, man. Like, that's why, I'm like, fuck, we got to start a liquidation business or something. Go in there and make them an offer.
I know, I've always had an interest in architectural salvage.
Yeah,
when people tear shit down and, man, it just go, like...
There's just so much value in what people will just ignore and throw away and just look, they just look past it. Like I said, those two pieces have been sitting there. I'm like, God, every time I drive past her, I think of something that those two pieces could be because they're wrapped in, like, that cheap-ass pleather, that they put on the futons. So I'm sure that the wood's probably not wet. It's probably not wet. And if it is, fuck it, we'll leave it. Like, you could test it structurally before we throw it in the truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, man, they've been sitting there for that long. Yeah, they're, a lot of potential. There's two pieces. Like I said, it was from, like, a sectional. One's, like, the real long, low-profile lounger piece. And the other piece would have just been a straight piece of sectional. So it's, again, just it's probably stands 4 foot tall by 6 foot long. The other one's 6 foot long, and it just has a little elbow on the end of it. And it's like, man, I literally could build a cubicle out of those two pieces right there. Just cut the fabric off them and face them.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I can't believe it. See, we didn't even talk about chemtrails.
Not at all. But, dude, they do fuck me up. They bother me.
Well, like, you're out every day, so like you said, you're one of the very few people that are paying attention, like, oh, I seen that today and it's raining tomorrow. Most people don't pay attention to what's in the sky or what the weather's doing day to day.
And it fucks with me because I can look up there and see so many planes sometimes at night, like at the same time. And, like, I'm familiar with the Interstate I-80 corridor. I know it runs east to west. And there's nights when I can be watching the planes in the sky, especially when the fucking sun's setting the right way and the sky's just the right color pink. You can almost see the fuckers, like, too good. Like, there's been nights where I've looked up there and counted, and I can count 9 at one time in the sky. And they're going east to west, the way I-80 would be going, and it looks very normal, and their little fucking tiny trail of shit falling behind them, and I'm like, whatever. And there's other nights where I look up there, and these motherfuckers look like they're flying the plane high on fucking acid, across in a fucking checkerboard fucking patterns or whatever, and the fucking trail it's leaving behind it is 70 fucking miles long. And I'm like, what the fuck is all that?
One thing that always confused me is the rate of dissipation. You know what I mean? So, like, that's where, like, because I know that, like, obviously whatever that shit that's coming out, the extract, you know, whatever,
right.
the fucking, the
burning jet fuel.
Depending on what elevation it's in, and what, obviously, the atmospheric conditions would be, whether it would be the temperature or the air pressure or whatever. Right. I'm sure, because I always thought, like, okay, well, at a certain elevation, you wouldn't see any jet stream at all because it just breaks down in the atmosphere or whatever. It doesn't hold up.
Okay.
So, but if you're looking at multiple streams, planes have a buffer. They have to be, you know what I mean, whatever, so many thousand feet above each other. So, I mean, you would see dissipation in some of them. They wouldn't all stay, and they stay for hours and hours and hours. Like, I mean, I noticed them more whenever I would go out, like, at night on a full moon. And you can see them in the sky. I mean, like, you'll see them. That's what I mean. All night.
Some of them stay burnt in the fucking sky for hours till the next day, and then the next day it's all spread out.
Yeah, like, as I said, they stay tight for, like, a long time. They don't seem to dissipate at all, to where, like, I mean, if I'm thinking critically and logically, it's like, so, I mean, like, if that's just a vapor, and it's in the air, which is constantly in motion.
Right.
Blowing and whistling, and then there's also...
You can't blow a cloud of fucking smoke into the...
And it's just...
Here's vapor.
You know, yeah, we need somebody at 30,000 feet vaping.
Well, I mean, you know.
But that's what I'm saying. So, like, I mean, there's not anything that's solidifying. So, I mean, what would be causing it to not dissipate at a rate unless something is in there that's keeping it, you know, I don't know. Like I said, it's almost like if you think about, what would they call that, with a pill?
Half-life.
No, whenever you take something and it takes so much time to... What do they fucking call that? I don't fucking know what they call it, you know. But, like, especially like it would be like in a capsule or something. But anyway, the rate that thing would break down and be active in your system. You know,
dissolve?
Yeah, there's a term for that.
Okay.
I mean, the rate, you know, that breaks down. But same thing, like with the jet stream, you would think that there should be some dissipation and some breaking down in that, you know, like unless they have some kind of, you know, something in it that allows it to dissipate at a rate, you know, for some reason, you know, and I mean, China's talked about weather control for a long time. Well,
that's the thing, we know actually, but like cloud seeding's a thing. They did that shit when
stuff in the atmosphere, all the time, you know. It's like, so I mean, it's not like it's that far fetched, you know. And I mean, like I said, I mean,
there's that HARP system that America has and shit. Do you know anything about that?
No.
HARP, whatever. You could Google that shit or something. There's some kind of weather. It's. I think it might have been on the fucking that show with William Shatner, The Unexplained. Because like the St. Louis Arch has even been speculated to be some kind of weather. What the fuck did we need that for? You find anything on it?
High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, a scientific research facility that studies ionosphere, which I would imagine is above us in the air.
Yeah, you got any images? They got all kind of shit fucking slammed into the ground and fucked up and...
Wow. What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. It's crazy what us dumb rednecks know.
I've never seen anything like that.
Crazy what your boy knows about.
Man.
And to think I only went to fucking ninth grade. Is that
just, I mean, obviously some kind of system for some kind of monitoring or something, but I don't know.
Sketchy enough to go, what the fuck? Where do our tax dollars go to fucking around?
Well, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I go down rabbit holes, and I think objectively to where, like, okay, well, if you have the power to maybe create some distasteful weather, you know, that would be awfully beneficial to where if I had, you know, some reason to, you know, start conflict somewhere, like if you're in the Middle East, if you're somewhere like, and you can essentially drop a hurricane on somebody, you know, or even just torrential fucking downpour, you know, it's like, you could really change the landscape of how somebody's able to function and fight, you know, so.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not like, oh, why would they control the weather? Like,
well, think about, watch Forrest Gump again, when they were in Vietnam, and I know, man, my next door neighbor, maybe we can get him on the podcast sometime. That'd be difficult. Dude, he was a door gunner out of the fucking helicopters in Vietnam. My next door neighbor, yeah. But like, think about back to Forrest Gump when he said, one day it started raining, and it didn't rain and it didn't quit for 4 months.
Right.
We've been through every kind of rain there is. A little bit of stinging rain, big old fat rain. Rain flew in sideways. Sometimes rain even seemed to come straight up from underneath.
I'm telling you, it's
but
like...
then, just like that, one day, somebody turned off the rain and the sun came out. And right then, they fucking walked up on that road in the clearing and ambush, fucking.
Right. Interesting, because it's not like that's part of the movie or the plot or anything that's explained.
Not at all.
Like,
no, but if you think back now, where they just, like we said, just here's another subliminal slap in your fucking face. We're going to tell you all about in Forrest Gump.
Yeah,
how he
right, because you'd never, watching Forrest Gump, be thinking that way about something like that, you know?
Right.
But you start to put the fucking things
But my
together.
dad did say, too, that monsoon season over there is a real thing, because my dad was over there, and that's a real thing. That's their winter. It just starts raining, and it's fucking rain forever, and then monsoon season leaves, and then it's better. But we also did other fucked up shit like that my door gunner neighbor told me about, Agent Orange. They sprayed that bullshit all over shit. It was
Right.
defoliant to kill the fucking vegetation so they could see the fight in the jungle. Problem is, they hauled it in the helicopters in a fucking bladder, and sprayed it.
Right.
And then they rinsed out that bladder however best they could, whatever, and then they hauled in the water that you showered with, drank, cooked with, everything, And he knew, not even knowing what you're doing, he's just telling me, like, I know he's not fucking lying, he had no reason to lie. He's talking about how looking back.
Man, how crazy is that? Like, you're literally fucking poisoning everybody.
And even like the guys, soldiers will recall, like, we would make camp, go in that night, set tents, do whatever. You'd go to bed, wake up in the morning, come out, and everything's fucking wet. Well, it didn't rain last night. Why the fuck is it raining? Well, that's due. No, they sprayed fucking Agent Orange all over them at night for them to be able to fight the next day to start to kill that fucking vegetation, but
holy fuck.
we're also spraying it all over their gear and equipment and everything. Now me and you were rolling fucking tents up in the morning. They're covered in the fucking shit and not really knowing it. Next thing you know, you're wiping your eyes. You fucking drank canteen. You fucking had food.
Well, and see, like, I was aware of that early on, like, just because I wanted to be a tattoo artist and you talk about, that's just basic cross-contamination.
Of every fucking thing.
I think about it all the time. I'm like, I spray my aerosol and I'm like, oh, fuck, my drink's open. Some of that definitely went into that fucking cup. It's like, oh my fucking
Well, yeah,
God.
dude, my wife come through the fucking, we have one of them soft curtain door, magnetic door things. It separates our laundry room and our mud shoe room from our rest of our home.
Yeah.
And in that mud shoe room, we have a bathroom that just has a toilet and a sink. And I was done doing my business, and I fucking spraying the old stuff, and she come right through that soft door, and I'm like, God damn it. I didn't mean to spray that right in the fucking
Is that
face,
what happened? I was on
you were on the phone.
Sprayed it right in her face.
But she, you know what I mean?
I'm like, what the fuck happened?
There's cross-contamination
You
right
said
there. I
smell
literally
good.
just fucking Febrezed her in the eyes,
As soon as you said that, I hope you've seen Dumb and Dumber enough to know what I'm talking about. But
I've seen it a few times, but I'll have to remember my weed brain.
When you fucking said that, dude, I thought about it. In that movie multiple times after he's got money and shit, he, like, hits the breath fucking freshener.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's pointing the wrong way, and it always sprays somebody that's standing next to him. That's exactly. I was like, "What were you spraying?" Fucking.
But that's the other thing. Think about that shit. Do you think a
holy fuck.
spray into our throat would be it?
I mean, who knows?
It has a fucking propellant in it.
It is some kind of aerosol.
It's
right?
in a fucking aerosol, and we're fucking we're as dumb as a fucking species there had ever been.
Yeah, you gotta have it though. You know? You can't live without fucking aerosol, fucking breath freshener.
Okay.
That's why it's still a thing now. You know.
When I was in prison, one of multiple times, I said to my buddy who grew up on a dairy farm, Iseli, one of them. And shout out Randy. And he's like, I said to him one day, I'm like, what do you think the dumbest fucking animal is in the farm? Which he said by far was a chicken. So I was like, all right, well, maybe like not a chicken because I don't know how they work. They lay eggs. Like, they're weird. I'm like, so what's about a mammal or whatever, you know? He's like, oh, pig. I was like, because everybody would immediately think cows.
Yeah.
But he's like, dude, cows are actually pretty fucking smart, especially dairy cows. Dairy cows actually know when to walk to the barn when it's time to be milked. They're pretty fucking smart. But he's like, pigs, on the other hand, are pretty fucking stupid. I'm like, yeah, but do they know to not fuck one another, right? The male ones know to fuck females.
Right. Oh my god. Yeah, there's probably this homosexuality in the animal kingdom, is there?
I don't think there's much. We could Google it, but
this is an
pigs.
interesting.
At least with pigs, farm.
This is an interesting intersection to something that I wanted to fucking bring up anyway.
Good. I love it.
They recently did an experiment with monkeys because we've got nothing better to do with our fucking time. But they introduced a form of currency. Call it an ape coin, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Oh no.
A doubloon, a coin. So they introduced a form of currency to these monkeys, and essentially
they will kill for it.
Well, it's gotten much more interesting than that. I didn't see this coming. They are mammals, though. So what are you gonna do?
All males.
So they introduced this currency to them in a way to exchange it for food. Okay, to see if they would be able to adapt. Like, okay, well, here's where the food is. I need to use this in exchange for the food. They figured that out in a rapid amount of time. But then what they didn't expect is that these particular group of monkeys started using the coins in exchange for sex from other monkeys. They literally fucking started prostituting each other. Like, you know, the female monkeys, well, I'm fucking serious. Like, you know, I mean, the female monkeys are giving it up for the coin, and the male monkeys are fucking going fucking hungry for some fucking monkey poontang.
Of course.
It's like,
yeah, we'll starve for that shit.
It's like, my God, who would have? You know, I mean, like, are you really that surprised?
You heard my reaction. Of course, we'll starve for that vagina.
It's like so funny. So what are you gonna do? You start prosecute them? Because it's like, again, we talked about it. Like, how can you fucking make sex illegal and selling sex illegal? It's like, well, even in the most primate forms, like if you have an exchange for you need this and I want this, that's gonna fucking happen. You know, it's like, so who are you to police it? Because it ain't your body. So it's just a funny...
Oh, that's the fucking... Listen, I will side for prostitution on that. Like, keep it clean, you would avoid rapes, a lot of shit to help with prostitution. And fucking's legal, selling's legal. Why isn't selling fucking legal?
Well, it's just like with this whole Diddy thing. Realistically, when you get down to it, I mean, if you look just at the salaciousness of the things that have happened, you don't look into what is coming, which I think is drugs and guns and blah blah blah,
right?
All that. But if you just look at the sexual aspect of it, there's really nothing illegal going on now, other than the filming of it and whether there was people of age and then blackmailing.
Is like, filming sex illegal?
I think maybe without consent, it probably is.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not making people aware of it, because like...
I suppose that's shady.
I stumbled onto this fucking article, and now obviously in the days of the internet, that porn is obviously one of the biggest moguls on the web. So it's like, places like Pornhub and these other big conglomerates of adult content, they had realized in the last couple of years that the way that they were verifying that these people were the people that were in the content in the videos, the way that they were verifying that they were of age, the way that they were verifying that they were in the video consensually, or maybe they were having the sex consensually, but they weren't consenting to be recorded or being posted. The only way that they were verifying this is by having human individuals watch these videos all day long and determine, does she look like she, is that rough sex or is that rape?
Oh, fuck!
A really young-looking 18-year-old, or is she underage? So it's like that literally was someone's job. They had a team of like 5 or 6 people working at Pornhub, watching fucking porn all day long, all this hardcore shit, and determining whether it was...
That job better pay exceptionally well, because I wouldn't want to do that. That sounds like being in hell.
Imagine the therapy that those fucking people have to go through. Like I said, just to like make that decision, but just to have to watch the content alone and determine, like, is she okay, or is she just pretending to fucking say no and this hurts? It's like, so like they had to do a complete fucking like restructuring of that whole entire Pornhub into people that owned it, because again, most of those people, they didn't have any verification on it at all, and they couldn't prove whether those people were on there consensually, and they were speculating that 90%, maybe that's a high number, a large percent of these people were probably victims of sex trafficking, and these people were probably fucking kidnapped or taken and then forced to do this stuff on camera to make somebody money on a fucking porn site.
Oh God!
You know? And that's probably more of the truth than what anybody would like to admit. And it's like, you know, they actually had to restructure the entire thing. Now you got to have an identification, and you got to scan your ID in, you got to do all this stuff to be able to upload content like that. But it's still probably not, you know, I mean, how could it ever be foolproof?
Right.
You know?
And then we got the whole fucking other rabbit hole that I don't even know if we want to talk about, that I'm very unfamiliar with, other than talking to guys who've been in prison. Maybe another reason to stay the fuck away from that. The dark web, which was actually created by the United States Navy, and then somehow got fucking hijacked and became what it is now.
Well, and like nothing's secure. It's like,
but I mean, like that dark web is crazy. You can allegedly pay money to watch motherfuckers get whacked on there and everything else.
I wouldn't be surprised, because that stuff now is on Twitter. You know, you can see unedited stuff like that of people. I mean, with the war that's going on right now, you can see people getting blown the fuck up. You know, and I'm like picking up pieces of their family members and shit. It's like, so I'm not that surprised.
Right.
But
I don't want to fucking pay. Like, what? How fucking sick do you got to be to enter your credit card number to watch somebody get shot in the fucking head?
It's one thing if you're being fed to it, you know, through some kind of platform, you know. But yeah, just anybody that wanted to be interested in watching it, or like, the shock value, whatever. Like, because I mean, like, I could sit here and talk about how fucking crazy it is, but I have no desire to see it.
Right.
I remember in the early days of the internet, there was a website called rotten.com.
Yep.
And
we all
that
seen it.
is where I hit my limit. Like, I had seen two that I remember for sure. That one was just your standard beheading over in the Middle East, and are just literally bags over the head and cutting people's heads off, and they're laughing at it as they go down the line.
Oh, yeah.
It's the funniest thing. And then there was also another image that I fucking will never forget, that there was a guy who got hit with a helicopter blade. As it came down, somehow he got hit with a blade, and boy, he was just spaghetti. You know, and I was like, you know what? I don't need that side of the internet. You know, like, I really don't. You know, so.
Well, that's even like one of the things that, you know, not to shift gears too much, but they talk about showing industrial accidents and shit for safety and shit. But it's like, you can't unsee that shit. No, so some of it I don't need to see. Necessary. I don't need to see people with their, you know.
Well, it's like you could scare somebody into being really careful.
But you don't have to traumatize a person.
Right, it's like,
and I'm not going to be one of them lefties like, oh, you don't need, but let's be realistic. Just showing a young guy. And here's the other thing. If they would have stopped making it, like, quote unquote, almost illegal for younger people to get into the industry and be involved, then they would. It's better to hear that story from an old man than to see it firsthand.
Right.
But nowadays, we won't let a guy into a mill or a factory or a farm or anything until they're 18 years old. So now you got to be like, well, you're 18 years old, so we have to show you a video of someone getting their head lobbed off.
Right.
Well,
it's like they don't even let you fucking run the deep fryer at McDonald's if you're not 18. You know what I mean? It's just too dangerous.
Oh, man, you just get a little grease burn to know that you have to keep your arm away from that fucker.
Well, and if you fucking somehow manage to burn your entire fucking face, you know, it's like, well, the universe has a way of weeding out the fucking people who just...
Oh, my God. Me and my buddy had a good laugh that one day about them garage door eyes.
Oh, my God.
It's just a photo eye, you know what I mean? Goes across the bottom of your garage door. But I was like, man, I go to shut the garage door at my dad's house because he has them fucking things, because I don't even have a garage. My dad has a garage with automatic doors. But the fucking cat scurries out and pew, fucking door goes back up. And I didn't even know. And now we went to town and left his fucking house hanging wide open.
My God.
And I said, all in the name of fucking some kids that knew not to, like, your kid shouldn't be under the garage door anyways.
Right.
And my buddy Mark goes, yeah, plus back in the day, all the fucking dumb kids got killed by the garage doors. That was...
Unfortunately, right.
He's like, that was nature's way of taking care of that shit. Making sure they didn't go on to contaminate the rest of the gene pool.
Well, and it's a very similar situation to where, like, you weren't getting me to get into your fucking car if I don't know you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be one of them stupid idiots that fucking jumped into somebody's car. You know what I mean? Like,
If someone would have pulled up on us and been like, you need to get in this car, I'd have been like, I'm going to go tell my dad, and he's bringing fucking shoot you in the face.
It's like, you know, and I didn't have to, you know, be shown, you know, fucking traumatic fucking images or anything like that. I mean, like, but, you know, again, making you a little bit aware of what the fuck could happen and, you know, who to trust. It's like, man, I didn't have to be fucking...
Yeah.
I didn't have to hold my hand through most of it. It's like, and I fucking managed to survive. You know? Yeah, I think, you know, people are just either too naive or... I think most of it now is just really the internet. You don't have people like, you know...
Dude, when I see or read some shit on the internet too, I wonder if half the time people are even being serious. That's the other thing you have to remember. Some people are just jokesters by nature.
I've caught a lot of stuff that was just literally fake. Absolutely 100% a fabricated story, a fabricated picture. And, you know, it's like that's somebody's picture and somebody's being painted out to be something fucking really terrible. And it's like, you know, you just have to just know what, you know.
Well, like, yeah, to switch it to like motorcycle content, right? Just today I seen a video of a guy at a gas station on like a fancy crotch rocket. And like cop car comes in circling like with the lights on, dude, and the dude just nonchalant, like fucking puts it in gear and rolls out, right? Like he's gonna take him on a chase. And the video ends. And somebody put in the comments, what they didn't tell you was 2 seconds before that was, excuse me, officer, do you mind rolling around the end of this with your lights on so we can get a really cool shot?
Right.
Which I had to put a reply in there. Finally. Somebody with a fucking brain. Because even where dude, the chief of police rides motorcycles in our town. Right. Like, you could be like, hey, dude, Saturday, I'm trying to get a really cool fucking shot. Can you know what I mean? You can have a cruiser out on Saturday. You can just come by. Like, what are they going to say? No.
Especially in most cases, that cop was probably already at the gas station anyway. It's like, and right, if you ask, they're just going to say no. Because I've been, like, on the verge of asking a couple times, like, just to get a, you know, I always thought it'd be funny, like, hey, man, like, can I, you fucking cuff me or something like that, put me up against the car just for a photo. And I'm going to post it and be like, hey, no tattoos this weekend. Just leave it, you know, just as a joke, you know, but then that would be a fucking wild storm of who knows what the fuck.
Who knows what the fuck.
Speculating. You know, but that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? You got to get fucking people talking, liking it, sharing it. It's like the other week. I don't like to do the clickbait content, but I was like, man, I don't really have anything to post. I had some footage from just rolling through the Sheetz parking lot, and the fucking cops were with the lights on. There's literally no context. I don't even know what was going on. I literally just filmed the fucking 5-0 with their lights on as we were leaving the store, and I posted that, and I think the caption was like, what's going on here? It had like 5,000 views. Because you know how many people watched that? And we're like, what is going on here?
Right?
What is going on?
And then other people will see shit in videos and stuff. Dude, the craziest thing is like, I was watching one the other day and someone was filming a trolley and dude got hit by a car.
Oh my God. Walking
across the street. Like, not even hard, but like, so like all the comments are full of like, is anybody even going to talk about the fact that dude got hit by a fucking car? Like, people will see all kinds of shit in your video that you didn't even see, which is cool too.
Or I was hoping that whenever I posted that, someone would be like, hey, I was there that night. This is what's going on.
This is what's going on.
Like, oh, well, thank you.
Sometimes that happens.
Closing the loop, you know, because again, like I can only hope that as we start to do this more and more, that like the local audience becomes a little bit aware of it, you know. And handful of times I've been out and they're like, hey, you're the, you know,
you're that guy. Like when we were going in the store that night, and that girl was like, you're the dude that did my tattoo.
Dude, it's so funny. Like, I mean, again, that's been happening a little bit more often than the podcast thing, but yeah, even now I still get real stoked because 9 times out of 10, whenever I'm doing a tattoo for somebody, I don't get to know them as a person. Half the time I don't even remember their name because their name is a name on a form and I'm worried about their piece and their artwork and all this. And I get a tattoo and just do this, not necessarily autopilot conversation, but in a lot of cases, people aren't spending a long period of time there. It's just a small one or their first one, you know, so it's a very surface level interaction. And then whenever I see them out and about, I have no idea who you are until I see the tattoo that I did for you. And then it all comes flooding back that I remember that you were in my shop and maybe the conversation we had. But most times I don't remember your face or, you know, anything else. Like, and she was a fairly attractive girl too. Like, you think I'd remembered her. It's like, are you sure? You know, like, was it me? Let me see the tattoo. Hold on. Before I can verify that you're, you know, in the right place. It's like, so yeah, that kind of stuff is really cool. And like I said, I think about it now. It's like, we'll say like, I have somebody on, say I have you on. You're not from here. Nobody knows you here. Nobody
Right.
knows you're here. You could be at Line and Sheets, and someone from St. Mary's that's never left St. Mary's be like, that's fucking Brian Lundgren. I've seen him on the podcast. He's a timber guy. He's fucking, he does this and he's a motorcycle guy. And they might spark a conversation like, dude, other than this podcast, I would have had no idea who you are, what your day-to-day is like. So it's like, again, maybe I'm in the checkout line or the line at the store or something like that, and I'm fucked off having a bad day. Person up there that I'm complaining about taking a fucking hour, I'm like, oh, fuck, I seen them on that I think that's that girl I seen on a podcast. She deals with a little bit of mental health and some struggles, and I kind of like, she lost her dad, and I'm actually fucking cool. Like, I'm actually not even frustrated now, because like now I have a little bit of an insight into like somebody else's life and what they go through day to day. So it's like, it gives kind of people an opportunity, because I even thought about that too. Maybe somebody's seen some girl on the podcast and she told her story and all this shit. Maybe some guy seen her out at the bar and was like, instead of a cheesy ass pickup line and me trying to get in her pants, like, I actually know a little bit about that girl's story. Maybe I'm gonna go over and be like, hey,
Some people are
you're that girl, like, you're Abigail, and I fucking seen you talking on the podcast about your experiences, like, and maybe we bridged a gap somewhere.
Yeah.
That we don't have a reach to. It's like, it's
some
really
people are way more cool just talking to them.
Yeah, it's a really weird thing that, like I said, like, anybody that would come on here has an opportunity to let somebody else know who they are. And again, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be some musician or some whatever. Just a regular person. Now somebody that watched the podcast has a little bit of an idea who you are and what you're all about, and that could change an interaction that you have with somebody or vice versa.
Well, my thing is I want to know who watches this shit. Like, comment what you do or whatever, right? Like, who?
Yeah, that would be cool to have some more interaction. For sure.
Because we know people watch this shit. So what do you do?
Yeah, and I do know. I would use this as an opportunity to know, because I can look at the stats. I can see the entire list of everybody that's subscribed. I can also see what percentage. I can't see like individual who watches the shit, but I can see what percentage of the people that watch the stuff are subscribed and what percentage of the people that watch the stuff are not subscribed. So I would say a hard skew 80% of the people that watch the content are not subscribed to the channel itself. So I'm not necessarily concerned about putting out content based on what everybody else wants to see, because what I care about is putting out content that I care about and conversations that we care about having. We'll hone in an audience that cares about the same things, So again, you just keep chugging along, doing the same exact things. Like with what I'm doing, and my fucking list is literally right here. I tried to cut something together because I didn't think I was going to have anybody up here. But I have a fucking list, and I write down their names, and I write down what led me to want to talk to them.
All right.
And I would say maybe only a small percentage of those people, maybe 5 or 6 of those people, have reached out with interest, and it's just about setting it up. The other ones are just out in the abyss and just haven't got back to me, or they left me on red. I had a girl, I was telling you, I reached out to her for speaking about autism and behavioral sciences, and she thought I wanted to fucking buy her fucking OnlyFans content. So, like, there's a lot of swing and a miss, and a lot of people don't know how to perceive, the invite, I guess, because again, it is a little bit weird for a small town, a local area, to have something like this going on.
Right.
But the more people we make aware of it, and again, I get a lot of positive feedback, and if I'm now reaching out to people that are like 3 and 4 hours away. So like, I try to stop myself like in the Pittsburgh radius, and that way it's not too far of a drive for anybody. But that way too, like, you get people that are, a couple hours away coming up here. It gets people up here to meet people that they otherwise wouldn't have interacted with, and then vice versa. Those people down there are people that we wouldn't normally have a conversation with. So trying to just expand the reach, and then hopefully everybody that's on the show will then share it or give it to somebody else to watch.
Bro.
And then that'll,
I have a friend. I'm gonna have to shout out again to this fucker, because like, David was the one who keeps saying to me about, like, oh man, I'd like to be on a podcast. Like, 'cause the kid's just interesting, dude. He dives into shit like BlackRock.
Oh, cool.
Fucking, Vanguard. Like, how these certain fucking companies own and control the whole fucking world.
Right.
And, like, watches videos about shit. And, like, he's just interesting to talk to about any kind of conspiracy theories. Like, why the fuck farmers were planting crops and then the government pays you to fucking plow them over instead of harvest them. Like, this is all shit that really happens, too.
Right.
I don't fucking know why, but they do this shit. And he, like, reads into it, and he's just an interesting fucker. But, like, I'll ask him about doing the show, and he's like, I don't know. You know, I'm like, dude, you're the one that got me to not be afraid to do, like, because
I think people overthink it, especially because, like, I mean, if it's something like that, I mean, I could sit here and say, well, you know, I do all this reading and all this research, but I know that once I put myself on camera and I start talking about this stuff, there's a good chance that I might either be misinformed, I might be wrong, I might be just, I might just be flat out wrong.
Right.
But that's okay.
That's okay. Then fucking correct me.
We're not sitting here fact checking people in real time. And again, like, if anything, if we're having a discussion, we're like, you know what, I actually don't know. Pull it up, look it up. So again, we're just having a conversation, because I had somebody, like I said before, it's like, well, I'd come on and talk about this stuff, but I really am not an expert, and I don't want you to just call me out and I'm a liar. And it's like, that's not why we're here. We're literally just having a conversation.
It says human experience. Yeah. Nobody's an expert. That's the other thing. Her and I talk about all the time, all the shit that you're quote unquote fucking bullshitted into believing. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that Rogan and them are always talking about. Like, you're just made to believe, like, oh, eating meat's bad because that'll fuck up your cholesterol. Here, eat this fucking rapeseed oil that's...
Yeah, and it's like, all we can do is just talk about what we've lived through and experienced, and again, if we're not asking questions, then, we're just...
Right, who's making the facts anyways? Like, that's...
Yeah, so, I mean, like, I think that most people are just worried, like, well, I'm going to say something, or I'm going to sound stupid, or I'm going to be wrong about something. It's like, dude, it's like, well, right now, we're not fucking, like, we're Rogan.
I don't,
millions of people that are going to fucking backlash the next day.
And I don't care about that if there was millions of people listening anyway.
Me either. And I say that here, I say that at my tattoo shop. I said, if I have an opinion, you can pretty much tell in the first 5 seconds of my running my mouth that I'm, one, genuine, and I'm coming from a good place. And two, I don't claim to fucking know everything. I'm literally just experiencing things in real time like everybody else. And every time that I get new information, I reanalyze things and I resituate. And that's why, like, realistically, I literally just pre-recorded something before you guys come up, because, like I said, I didn't know that you were coming. It's like, well, like, I think that, tattooing is great and art's great, but I think that the most beneficial thing that I've gained from being a tattoo artist is that I have 20 years of sitting down with people for long periods of time
talking to them.
And it's like, they could be from anywhere. They could be poor, they could be rich, they could be struggling, they could be comfortable, they could be black, white, yellow, it don't matter. And like,
you get that relationship that the only other people get is your barber or hairstylist.
Yeah.
My mom is really good friends, longtime friends with the local hairstylist lady down our way, right?
Okay.
And who else you going to talk to than the person that sits, cuts your hair for fucking half an hour once a month, every fucking month for 40 years. You get to know that person really well a lot of times, talking to your barber.
And I like to think that people probably attribute your position, because again, and whether you're a barber or a fucking salon owner or a beautician or whatever, people are aware that you have a little bit of insight because of the constant interaction you have with so many
other people.
And it's not like, when you work at a gas station or a grocery store where you just see somebody, boop, 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 check them out and they walk out. When you got somebody sitting there, and one, they've come to you to improve their appearance, which is arguably what people are most self-conscious about at the end of the day, because nobody can police you for your thoughts unless you share them. So it's arguably cosmetics is what people are most worried about, and how they look and how they're perceived to other people.
Yep.
So when you're sitting down in a chair with someone that you're trusting to change your appearance for the better, always for the better is their hope, you're like, you're such a vulnerable piece of putty. It's like, man, like, I will listen to you and talk to you. And that's where you get a lot of people where it's like a therapeutic session, to where, like, okay, like, listen, I'm handing myself to you because right now I don't feel as good, or I don't look as good as I should, or I want to feel better, or I want to improve the way that other people perceive me. I'm here and I'm coming to you to make my hair look better, my skin look better, make my, it's like, so when you get somebody in that situation and you're giving them that, they're opening up, and they're thankful for it. They're like, yeah, you build this rapport and this trust with them, and if you can do that multiple times a day for multiple people. Now, granted, I take the grunt of that because it's hard on my end, like, to have such a close and deep interaction with so many people all the fucking time. Right. Boy, does it wear on your and just on your mind, just because, again, you're carrying a lot of people's insecurities, and you're really taking people in, like I said, when they're almost the most vulnerable, and they're paying their hard-earned money to make themselves look better. And if you do that for them, then you've, again, given them so much power and confidence. When they leave there with a new fucking tattoo or a new hairstyle, they feel like a new person.
Yep.
You know, and like you have the power to give that to them, and that's why they're there. So it's like you have a lot of responsibility. So it's like you talk to these people and you do this day to day and you do it for fucking 20 years. It's like, boy, I've become like this weird fucking thing where like I don't care who you are or where you came from, and you could absolutely disagree with everything that I think and feel and want, and we could still figure out a way to have a conversation and understand each other. It's like, boy, it almost set me up exactly where I needed to be to do this, because I've essentially been podcasting my whole life. There's just never been a camera or a microphone. You know, I've just been doing art in the middle of it. So it's like, man, to learn everything from other people instead of, you know, what you were led to believe. It's like, man, like you start to think how things add up. It's like, well, you know what? My whole life I was taught this. Well, so was I. Well, that's fucking bullshit. You know what? I realize that's bullshit too. Maybe we're not fucking stupid or conspiracy theorists. It's like we're all living the same experience and we're all taught the same things, but at some point we realize, boy, there's a lot of things that don't make sense or add up.
Yeah. Well, like my mom and dad, 70-some years old, and here we are in our 30s. And like I said yesterday, we hung out with my mom and dad for my birthday and stuff. And like, it's like you're both having that light bulb moment of just like war is what we were talking about, right? Forever, just rich people, the highest up people ever, have been deciding that the poor people will go die for whatever. How about this? Next time you guys want to have a fucking war, the top 5 politicians from the said countries, you fucks go fight in a big cage. We're all going to watch.
Well,
we're not sending our young boys to get blown the fuck up no more.
When did it stop is what I'd like to know, because she's you know, the historian over here. So didn't like first presidents, George Washington, all that, didn't they go into battle with their fucking soldiers?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
I mean, you're the fucking leader. You're the president. You're the commander-in-chief.
Get your ass in there and fight, pussy.
What does commander-in-chief mean, sitting behind your fucking desk and signing papers?
Yeah, it doesn't mean call shots from a secret bunker under the fucking entire state of Virginia.
Yeah, I thought I remembered fucking Napoleon on the front of the fucking boat.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah.
We're claiming new land.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, at what point did the people who were actually sacrificing all the fucking, you know, humanity, I'm like, literally, you just sending people over to
That's
die.
what I mean. They don't want to have that conversation. If them fuckers would have to be the ones that they want us to go do it for you. They want us corn-fed fuckers from the backwoods of western Pennsylvania to go fight their fucking wars. They ain't gonna do it.
And well, it's like, and we would, and we do, but it's like, essentially, like, a level of respect. It's like, you know, how can I fucking convince you and tell you to do something that I'm not even willing to do myself? You know, like, hey, you should really, like, that's why I stopped taking advice a long time ago from people who don't do the shit that they're trying to tell me I should be doing. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you're going to tell me how to run my business? Do you own a business?
Right.
How, I mean, like, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah, that's why I hate people bashing Trump all the time. And people are like, oh, he's a fucking idiot and a moron. I'm like, yeah, I've stayed in a bunch of fucking hotels that are named after you. You know what I mean? Get the fuck out of here, bro. Every goddamn major city I've ever been in got a Trump hotel. I didn't fucking see no goddamn hotel with your name on it. Shut up.
Well, and it's like, it's not like it's too far-fetched to think, okay, well, all right, he's not a politician. Well, haven't you been crying for the last 20 years? Though, you know, we need to get rid of these politicians. Politicians are the problems. They're fucking...
Yeah.
My grandpa, I had heard him say, it could have been etched on his tombstone, that politicians are just thieves in suits. That's literally all he would say. I mean, like, that's all it is. They're fucking crooks wearing suits. They're no different than the asshole.
I heard the quote somewhere that a judge is the person who's got what it takes to take what you got.
Nah, that's fucking interesting.
You know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, they're just the people who, man, I have more than you. I'm not afraid to fucking take everything you have from you. Look into the fucking Japanese. Me and her were just talking about that, watched that shit last night about during World War II after Pearl Harbor, when they just took 120,000 Japanese American citizens in good standing in this country and ushered them into internment camps for no other reason than they were fucking Japanese by descent.
Wow.
So you don't have rights in this country if your country can just decide to take them away.
Yeah.
You have privileges. Nothing more, nothing less. They're not rights if your country can decide to take them away. At that point, they're just privileges.
I think there was a fucking George Carlin bit about that, right? My God-given rights. It's like, boy, you think that sounds good.
Who's
but like,
God? Exactly. And how come in other countries then some have more rights than what? So God just likes Italy less than us? Because some countries have 10, others have 25, some have only 3. Get the fuck out of here. So God just only like them people more than...
I wonder if they said
Why does he like us more? Because
lying.
we have 23 flavors of fucking macaroni and cheese.
31 flavors of ice cream.
Right.
God favors America. I don't know why. It's just true.
Oh yeah.
We have more. I don't know why we have more. We have more rights and all. It doesn't make any sense, you know. And again, it's like it's because it's humans making these decisions, you know. Like and we know, you know, through the course of history, you know, it's pretty easy. I mean, like I said, you look at monkeys to now, we haven't changed a whole lot, you know. Like we literally are motivated by the same shit that we've always been motivated by. So it's like realistically, you know,
food. Shelter, nice shelter, you know what I mean? Better homes, better food, and yeah. Women. That's basically it.
Well, it ain't even women now. It's just, you know, I mean, like, obviously, people want to be able to indulge. You got to be able to survive. You got to have bountiful resources. But you can't just expect it all to be provided for you without having to earn it. You know, the monkey's still going to go out and fucking dig their fucking food out of trees and climb trees to get food. You know, like we were just talking about this before you come up. It's like, so you take the experiment we call the pandemic, you know, and it just shows. Well, it's like I really think that was just a test to see what the fuck people would do. Oh my
God, man!
You know, but it shows you that large percentage of people who were paid to stay home, paid to not work, allowed to do remote work, that literally breeds a society of people who will never go back to work. And I've seen it firsthand with people that, again, like the longer that you are not working and not being a functioning, contributing member of society, the harder it is to get back up, and the more likely you are to just expect people to hand you things. And, you know,
somehow the sawmills were deemed essential right away.
You need fucking everything that produces. Everything that you produce. What do you mean, somehow?
Don't. We can stop fucking logging tomorrow. Everybody hates it so bad. But yeah, I think it was all the shit paper.
What would IKEA do?
I think it was all the shit paper you fuckers actually wanted. Yeah. We kept the chippers running.
I wonder what is Japanese and China's like logging industry. Have you ever looked into that?
No, it's non-existent. We send it all over there.
That's what I was thinking. So I mean, like, again, if you think about the power that be, they during the pandemic controlled a lot of our medicine, a lot of our PPE, and they kind of fucking bottlenecked us and kind of showed us that we really do rely on them.
Oh yeah.
Well, in the terms of trees and paper and
they
paper
rely
products,
on us.
Boy, could you fucking switch the foot, because I don't see them cutting down their forest and their beautiful cherry blossom trees and fucking making paper and notebook out of it. They're probably using hemp, the smart fuckers. Yeah, that's what we should be using, but
we should be for certain shit. Yeah,
well, there's a lot of stuff that I think could be.
Well, it would offset the application, right? If you can only make toilet paper from softwood pine, quit printing paper on it. Let's make the paper out of hemp, like, and that'll save more for shit paper and paper towels or Kleenexes or whatever. Like, yeah, make it more sustainable.
Yeah,
don't waste a resource. Think about this. Her and I were just having this conversation today. You used to just use whale oil. Well, fuck, we would have extincted the whales for sure by now if we were still using just whale oil. It took us into the 1800s to think, well, boy, we better start drilling this shit out of the ground and getting it from somewhere else.
Right.
Because if we just keep using our oil exclusively from whales, that ain't going to last forever.
Right.
Do you think we'd be running cars on whales? We got to get that oil out of the fucking Gulf of fucking America, bud.
I never even knew that was a fucking thing. Like whale oil?
That was your lights. That was how you, it was everything.
So you're fucking burning oil, all of that?
Your burning oil came from whales before we were like, better drill it out of the ground instead.
What year?
Help me out.
1800s, 1900s?
1700s.
17.
When was whaling? Google it.
Oh, yeah, duh.
1879.
So the first oil well wasn't drilled until 1879.
Oil as we know it. Oil. Yeah. Okay, so crude
help
oil.
Us out over there, Jamie.
Crude oil. Crude oil. That would be.
So when was whaling a thing and stuff? You know.
That over here. Yeah. So I guess it's again Moby Dick wasn't just a book, obviously that was a fucking industry, a whaling industry,
because they needed it for oil. I'm pretty sure she'll be able to tell us this, and I'm positive The lights in New Orleans in the 1700s would have been lit off of fucking whale oil before regular gas or whatever we were using.
Oh, and they probably killed him right off the fucking shore there. I mean, like you said, there's like where pirates would come in and shit.
Yep, everything happened down there in the Gulf of then Mexico and now America, which...
Man, fucking whale oil for fuel.
Yeah.
Whale? Man, I actually had no idea. I wonder if, like, what was the other application? I mean, I guess they were probably using the fucking...
I think they were using it to make ink and other things like that for writing. She'll be able to tell us.
Well, they probably used, like, the fat and the blubbers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess at that time, were they clothing themselves with animals still? Did they have clothing and cotton?
And then what was the oil used for?
Lighting, lubrication, and other industrial purposes.
Lighting, lubrication, and other industrial purposes. So the fucking oil as we know it basically used to come from whales until we were like, yeah, better get it out of the ground. And then that's what I mean. Like her and I were talking about today, like goes back to like simulation theory. Who the fuck's just thinking, well, I'm just going to punch a hole into the earth till whatever.
Yeah, I wonder...
How do you know there's oil, water, gas? What? Who the fuck?
Yeah, because I wouldn't think that at that point there wouldn't have been a technology that would have been allowed to, like, scan it and be able to tell.
Yeah, and yet we started... When did we... Well,
yeah, you know what happened?
She said 1879. So who the fuck in 1879 was like, I'm just going to drill a fucking hole in the ground?
I think I actually seen this. During the intro of the Beverly Hillbillies. Remember, I think he shoots the ground and oil starts coming up. Remember?
Oh.
No, I'm fucking kidding. Dude.
I don't know.
You've seen the Beverly Hillbillies,
yeah,
right?
but I don't remember the intro.
Yeah, that's how they fucking... He struck gold. He fucking shot us right when it started coming out of the ground. I don't think it's that close to the surface. It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know how they discovered that there was oil beneath us and that could be a viable resource. You know, and that's what I mean. Like,
well, I think they used to almost dig it out of the ground with fucking hand shovels. I don't know. It's fucking nuts to think about. Like, and how did we get to where we are? To be able to drill like we do. They drill these fucking natural gas Utica wells that are 400 and 500 foot deep. We go miles under the surface of the earth to get coal.
Well, and it's not like it's only being tapped on ground or on land, too, because they're obviously getting it out of the ocean, out of the fucking ground that's deep in the ocean, too. So, like, where you're like, oh, you know what? There's obviously some oil under there. I got a globe right there. Like, well, yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
Just build a fucking structure that's 4 miles fucking tall and drill into the ground.
Them oil wells, that video you sent me was fucking wild. How do we put something like that on stilts in the middle of the ocean? Well, unreal.
It's like, especially like, you had to build the first one. You know what I mean? So like, I mean, like, did you factor in the weather and the waves?
I know.
I mean, like, holy fuck. Is this thing gonna fucking
the
get
learning
struck by
curve
lightning?
that had to be there, and the men you had to convince to be like, hey,
well, it's like we talked about.
live on this for a while.
We talked about those pictures from fucking ancient New York City where these guys are building these skyscrapers with no fucking harnesses or nothing. I mean, and now, like I said, I laugh at people like have anxiety about calling somebody on the phone. Like, you know, like, you realize what kind of humans we used to produce as a species. Like, they're up there eating a fucking sandwich. I mean, like, literally you could sneeze and there goes your whole fucking life.
She was talking today about this guy who fucking was on an airplane in World War I that went to throw a bomb out or something, or the bomb got caught in the chute, came back up into the plane and caught him on fire. And he had enough self-awareness to fucking carry the thing out and throw it out the window. Yeah, fucking
that'd be my dad right there. I'd be like, that's what I mean. Like, our generation. That'd be like our dads right there. Fucking just...
That's what she said.
What else was I gonna do?
Men were just built different back then.
It's either that or die. Sure as fucking dying today.
Well, and that's what he said. He's like, well, they would have killed the whole crew on the plane. What if the fucking bomb would have blown up in the plane? I had to take it to the window with his eyes on fire. She said that he was in the hospital while they dug phosphorus out of his fucking face.
Oh, my God.
1859.
Oh, wow. Still, though, that's not that long ago.
Well, that's even earlier yet, though. We decided to drill holes into the earth.
But that's what I mean. We haven't been doing it that long. You know what I mean? Like, not really.
No.
You know?
1859. Fuck, there was way sophisticated. China's been around for a fucking billion years before that. What were they doing?
Right. Man, and that's what I mean. Even that, how'd they figure out about whales? You know, I can squeeze some juice out of that fucking big ass mammal out there, and we can light our candles. And I can lube my fucking wife up. You know, I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, who
Yeah,
thought
go
of
out and
this?
get that whale, John. Right.
And then they did, yeah, but it's fucking nuts.
Told
dude.
you it had juice in it. Like, what the fuck?
You're
Yeah,
not
it's-
wrong. It's wild
I
where
was-
we are as a species and what we've thought of. And yet, too, we're only 200 or 300 years on the other end of that spectrum from eating each other.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like, oh my god, the human ingenuity has just gone, I think, backwards in some cases.
In some
Like,
cases,
maybe
yeah.
it's just bold bravery. You know what I mean? It's just absolutely just hardened fucking human beings. Like, now we've become a softer society, obviously, because things are a little bit easier,
Yep.
you know, but...
Yep.
Yes, I mean, like, imagine pulling anybody out of the general population, like, okay, to eat tonight, you've got to kill that saber-toothed tiger. And you got to skin it, and you got to put it over the fire. That's the only way your kids are eating.
Right. And
They
even
just
like,
die.
and even with that, right? Like, okay, depending on who you ask to do said task of kill saber-toothed tiger, I could say, okay, hold that thought. I got to run to my dad's house. He's got a 300 Winchester Magnum in the fucking gun safe.
I should have stated that you have to only use a spear.
Right.
Whatever they
That's
had
what I
available
mean.
at that time.
So we could go smoke that saber-toothed tiger and make quick work out of it. But what if you only have a fucking slingshot?
Like, literally a sharpened stick.
Stick.
You know, like, people are fucking crazy to think that, like, you survived this way. This is the only reason we're here right now, is that because of these kind of, you know, processes.
Yes.
Like, people just
Yes,
absolutely
the Native
fearless.
Americans dug the deadfall trap and used the weight of the bear and it's to kill it. You know what I mean? It would come walking along and fall into the
Yeah,
pit,
with
and
the
they had it full of
sticks.
spikes
Yeah,
and killed
just
the bear,
that.
and then they jumped in and pulled it out of there and ate it and made blankets out of it and shit. Like,
Yeah, just the understanding
to
of just
have that
physics.
kind of fortitude, like, to be that tough. Nowadays, we're like, man, I don't have no signal here. This is fucked up. This is
I
really
know,
fucked
I'm like,
up.
I've been in the drive-thru for 10 minutes. Where the fuck's my
My
food?
food.
I'm starving.
Yeah, we
Like,
give,
imagine if you had to fucking wake up in the morning before the sun come up and starve all day and hunt this fucking thing and track it, and then maybe you'll eat.
maybe you eat, maybe not. You
You
ever
might-
watch that TV series Alone?
No.
You've never watched Alone? Oh man. So they took and flip-flopped like fucking some of them other shows with like Bear Grylls and shit, because I guess them dudes got caught eating Pop-Tarts and fucking around with the camera crew. So Alone is, we take your ass somewhere like Vancouver or any of these fucking desolate places. The first one I think ever was filmed in Vancouver. And they just drop you off
In the wood?
in the woods.
Okay, I was like,
They give you, you're allowed like some basic survival gear. They take shit like tents, cots, sleeping bags, cooking shit, you know, like fire starters, a knife, no weapons, no guns, no fucking bows and arrows, no nothing like that.
they give you a lighter?
I think you have a lighter or fire starter, shit
That's-
like that.
That's life and death right there.
Yeah.
If you only gave me a lighter, I'm fucking chilling.
Right.
I can figure everything else out. Dude,
Well,
with
like you
fire.
can take some fishing line and hooks and shit, right? And the thing is you have no, and they give you the camera equipment as well. Anything you're going to film, you set
There
up
you
your
go.
own cameras. You can set them up on trees or whatever. I think they provide with like tripods and shit. And you're just there for as long as you can be there. And they don't tell you when the other contestants quit or anything like that. At the end, you can win $250,000 if you stay the longest.
And you're isolated the entire
Entire time.
Based on the title of the show, you're by yourself.
Yep.
It's funny that you brought this up because I literally just seen a post today about, it was like a behind the scenes shot of the show Survivor, and there's 60 fucking thousand fucking cameramen. They got fucking literally floating fucking recording studios like off the shore and like 800 cameras.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like
you
you
need-
think that they're not like, here's lunch, and I mean, like, we already know that you're not out there
cheating.
surviving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need to
and-
look into Alone. That's definitely way different. The one girl, the one year that I was watching it, she actually got taken out because they do med checks on you.
Well,
If you make it like over 30 days, they're coming to check on you. And then if you make it over like another 60, like they come and fucking check on you.
well, that's
because
at least
the
letting
one
you know it's
girl,
authentic, because you could die.
well, that was the reason a couple of the girls were taken off the show. It wasn't even that they had called, because you have a sat phone that you can call and fucking
Quit, right?
Yep. But they hadn't even called and quit, but they checked in on this one girl and they're like, listen, you lost 88 fucking pounds. Like, you know what I mean? You've had one rabbit to eat in the last fucking 95 days. for the safety of you got to be medically extracted. You know what I mean? And the dude that won the 1 year, the only reason he won was because, dude, he made a homemade bow and arrow, and it wasn't like but 2 or 3 weeks in, dude, he managed to shoot a fucking moose or something with it, and he was like,
just eating the whole time,
he
right?
just kicked back eating, and like, you're winning, dude. He won. He was like, I could stay here for fucking 9 months. I don't give a fuck.
Anybody hungry?
Yeah. He was all the way good. But like the one woman, dude, I learned so much shit too about surviving. Like, she had made
That'd probably be the most interesting part, just because you'd see
the
how
cabin
so
that
many
she
people
made
would...
was fucking wild, dude. She started out making a stick cabin, and then she took and made
So like vertical sticks in the
yeah,
ground,
and then
the
she made
perimeter.
another one inside of it, like by a 4-inch offset. And you're thinking, what the fuck is she doing? And then she filled the with fucking grass and
Insulation.
moss and everything, dude. It was totally insulated. She put a
Yeah, 'cause the wind
fireplace.
and everything too, especially like, I mean, I don't know where they're at, but
They were in fucking Vancouver,
Yeah,
where it
so-
rains 90% of the time and it's 30 degrees at night.
well, and any wind coming off the water anywhere nearby, it's like, you know, the wind could fucking kill you in your sleep.
Yep.
You know, so like,
Yep.
You
She
wouldn't
had a
think of
double
that.
insulated cabin though with a fireplace and shit. It was wild. Some of them got really innovative with what they.
yeah,
Well, think about it, you're out there ditched in the woods. What else are you gonna do? Play Xbox?
right.
You better get building that shelter.
Well, and you would hope that if you were fucking taking that dive, you would have done some research.
Well,
and
they
done
have
some
to be
practicing.
credibly. Most of these people are already hunting guides, survivalists, outdoorsmen.
Right.
Like, you don't hear the guy that's like, oh yeah, I'm a gamer and a podcaster, bro. And then they're
Well, that's
out
like,
there doing
you
that.
wait till this fucking Ocean Gate fucking documentary fucking comes out, because there's a situation there where because he had fucking billions and billions of dollars, he was able to pay off anybody that told him it wasn't safe. He was able to pay off anybody that told him that it wouldn't work. This dude, the Ocean Gate thing is the billionaire that took the submersible down to the Titanic.
Oh, you had me lost for a
Yeah.
minute.
So
I know about this with his Xbox controller.
I don't know anything about that, but as far as just him as a human being, so like, I mean, there's some information now that's obviously come out in light of all of this now, that like they've said almost at every single step of the way that anywhere that there was an expert, whether they were an expert in, you know, pressurization or submersibles or deep sea exploration, multiple experts were brought in obviously to make this happen. Every single one of them told him, listen, carbon fiber frame, never gonna fucking work. You can't do carbon fiber into this depth. It just will not work. Numbers don't fucking lie when you're talking about fucking science.
Pressure.
You know, so it's like, these experts now have all come out and been outspoken about, like, you know, we told them at every fucking step of the way that, like, on paper, this will never fucking work. You know, like, you have to make changes. It can't have this big of a window observing glass. It can't have all these things. And he ignored it. Everybody that stood in his way, he fired them and paid somebody that would just do what he wanted. And, like, this documentary is about to come out, and, like, they're painting him out to be what they're literally, their term for him is that he was a psychopath. All he cared about was being famous.
Oh,
didn't
he
care about
famous,
anything.
alright, and he fuck him,
Yeah.
feed him beans.
And, like, the lady that he brought on him was like, she's going to be the pilot of the submersible. She's like, excuse me? She's like, I'm a fucking accountant. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, so he just literally had no disregard for the safety of it at all. And he literally took those people down there to fucking die, himself included.
Yep.
You know, and it just goes to show, it's like, yeah, you could have more money than brains in a lot of situations, you know, and like, oh my God, like.
Well, I guess that was how he wanted to die. He wanted to be part of the Titanic.
There's
So.
fucking sound bites and press conferences of talking, nobody will die under my watch. Period. You know, oh my God, dude. So I can't wait for it to come out. And then, like, they just released video, which is obviously, so like they had now obviously gone through all these reports because they obviously tested this thing multiple times before it went on the Titanic exploration. And even in what they would call like a simulated dive with the submersible in a pool in a controlled environment, they were frequently losing contact with the team. They couldn't keep track of it. They were lost for multiple hours in like a small body of water. They had no idea where they were at. Even on the day of the dive on the way to the Titanic, their form of communication with the crew that was in the submersible was texting. They're like, you good? Yep. Still good? Yep. And then they just stopped getting texts. You think they're down there in the fucking sub, dude, in the bottom of the ocean going, Mah! What the fuck? Like, can't even fucking send a text.
You gotta be kidding me.
Like, these are fucking
like,
people that are supposed to be, like,
yeah, how did you get
ground
to even have billions of dollars and you're that fucking stupid?
Well, you don't have to
and
be
I
smart
struggle
to be
to
rich.
eat.
But it's like, oh my god, if you're going on an
It's-
exploration of the Titanic, I mean, like, a scenic ride or not, it's like, oh my god, do you think you'd want people down there that are fucking qualified to do it and have the right things in place? But literally, so like this video that came out the other day is of the crew that's sitting there monitoring all of this, on the radar. And of course, the guy's wife is sitting there watching the thing, and listening to all the audio, and you just hear. And she goes, that was a weird bang. And the guy that's sitting behind her just goes, oh. He fucking knew, because like, obviously I'm sure that like that's a very distinct sound of something imploding underwater. Yeah. And like I said, like if you're up there monitoring systems, you probably know, like,
yeah.
Yep.
Sayonara.
Like,
but did this not listen, bro? When did Titanic come out? Because I have it on VHS. 1997. Thank you. Okay. So I can remember back then to watching it in 1997. I don't know how old I would have been, but a young lad, probably about 10, considering I was born in 87. And the dude said in the submarine then, that looked way more legit than theirs in the fucking movie, was like talking something about it's 2.2 miles below the surface. Pressure at this depth is 2.2 tons per square inch. So that would be
that's how much pressure
4,000 and some pounds per square inch. These windows are 9 inches thick. So if they go, it's sayonara in 2 microseconds. Now, I don't know what a microsecond is, but it sounds like it's pretty short amount of time.
Oh my god, I watched like a CGI recreation of how that worked. Now, obviously, like milliseconds, microseconds, I mean, like it obviously had to have started with a breached hull somewhere, it cracked somewhere. But literally, like, faster than you can even blink your fucking eye.
Right.
Those fucking 6 people that were in that thing were ooze.
Right.
Literally just splat. I mean, just absolutely.
Quickest way to go.
And it's like, oh, they didn't even have a time. Like, they said that it happened so fast, they wouldn't even heard a creak in the hull. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't have even heard it.
You wouldn't even have got to know it was coming. Yeah. Well, that's no fun.
Yeah, but they had to have been fucking terrified because, again, like I said, they had this thing at multiple different locations that weren't even anywhere near the depth that they were taking it down to the Titanic. And again, like, they could hear it crinkling and hear it, and multiple people telling them, again, carbon fiber, not really the best choice under pressure. You know what I mean? Like, you know what the fuck carbon fiber is.
Light as shit, yeah. It's so made for like racing cars.
You're making decisions that are, being told by experts after experts that this is not going to work, and you're just going into the fucking blind because you think you know better than them. It's like, yeah, it's crazy to think, but again, they're fucking lost. It's a shame because the guy had his kid on board, and there was, a bunch of people, because this was his dream, was to make commercial trips to the Titanic, which is like, yeah, that'd be real exciting to look through.
Well, maybe you should ask the United States Navy about doing that instead of, because where I was going with the whole thing is supposedly, too, that whole sub was ran by an Xbox controller.
Oh, really? So they might not even, like, they probably weren't controlling it at all, right?
Well, even that just sounds a little tinsy.
Right.
I would want a little bit something better than a $34 item I can grab off the shelf at any Walmart.
Well,
wouldn't you want a controller that was made by the Navy or by,
Well, it may have been. That might just be a reference point to just how, it may be how it looked or how
simplified
it was.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's exactly how I just described that controller for that drone that I was looking at. It literally looks like a PlayStation controller, and that's how they've made this transition from maybe I've been a gamer in my fucking dungeon for the last 10 years. Now I can fly F-15 through a... You know what I mean? Like, because that's what it's going to come down to.
Right. I was going to say that, but in your defense, you're not taking that drone to the bottom of the fucking ocean with live souls on board.
No, actually, that's the whole fucking crux of the whole thing is it's like all of this technology has allowed us to do these things without endangering human beings. It's like that's the whole fucking point. Is like you can have this thing.
Can't you make something to go down there to look at it without having to die?
Are you that egotistical that you got to be the one that takes human beings down there? It's like, who the fuck is sitting around and like, man, I'm so mad I can't go down to the fucking bottom of the ocean and see the Titanic? That's all I want to do in life is go to the bottom of the
Right.
fucking ocean, look at some fucking swamped ass fucking ship.
Boat.
You know, like you said, I've seen the movie. They've done plenty of documentaries on it. They've had submersibles that were unmanned down there and shot videos of it. Like, what the fuck is going on? If you're not, like, if anything, spend your millions of dollars and excavate this fucking
That's
thing.
what I want to see
Put it
done.
somewhere.
Yep, pull it up out of there.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck, maybe fucking get some of these skeletons out of there. There's probably some fucking, people still in there. There's probably some, there's probably all kinds of stuff in there. That's what I mean. Like, realistically, like, would it have been more expensive? It probably would have been safer to just start bringing it up. I bet you could probably figure out a way to. They do underwater welding, right? So you could probably take. I know, like with my torches, where I was working as a scrapper cutting up metal, they probably could have went down there and fucking cut that thing up underwater with some kind of handheld fucking equipment, and then put it back together on the fucking surface of the on land. Like, that ain't that far-fetched. They do it whenever a plane crashes. Literally, when a plane fucking crashes into the fucking earth and it's in 5 million pieces, the NTSB puts that plane
I
back
know,
together,
entirely
piece by
back
piece.
together.
The whole fucking thing, they have to. They have to account for every fucking piece, so that way they can tell, well, you know what, this fucking plane crashed because it was missing an
This
O-ring.
failed this,
You know what I
yep.
mean? It's like, same thing with that Challenger explosion. Every retrievable piece of that thing had to come back so they can say what was missing. Like,
Yeah.
it's, that'd be that's what I would have done if I could go back now. I'd go work for the NTSB and investigate aviation accidents, dude. Like, that's one of my, like, very deep, long side obsessions that I don't have really time to indulge in. But, like, I could watch the Smithsonian Channel air disasters nonstop. It's the most interesting shit ever, because when a plane crashes, boy, there ain't a whole lot of left, to go over, and unless they find, the CRV or, the black box and shit like that. Like, there's really a whole lot of fucking questions, man, to figure out
What happened?
where it started. And it's something like they look at like a debris field, like, oh, okay, well, a piece of it broke off here. We found this 500 miles away. It started falling apart here. My favorite one, if I could find the episode number, I'll send it to you, because it's actually a very interesting one. This is like, there's a piece in the rudder of a Boeing, and it's called the dual servo valve, and it basically controls the rudder.
Yep.
Step on the pedals. One goes this way, one goes this way. They had an incident, and it only downed 2 planes, but I think there was like almost 10 years between the 2 accidents for them to figure out that these were related and this was the actual issue.
Fuck.
They call it a rudder reversal, and something malfunctions with that valve, and when I step on the right rudder, it's essentially inverted analog, to where, like, when I push on the right to go right, it actually goes left, So this would happen, and then, of course, when you're putting the inputs in for your rudder, you're heavy on the fucking right, and it's going left, so you're trying to counter steer it by adding more of the other direction. You're actually causing it to go the other way, you know what I mean? So, like, literally, you're causing the plane to go into a nosedive because you're putting in opposite inputs. And it's like, the one actually was a Pittsburgh plane crash, female pilot. It's actually a really interesting story, because, again, like, all the cockpit recordings are so disgusting to listen to, because they're trying to figure out why the fuck the plane's not correcting itself. They're putting all the inputs, they're steering it this way. They had no idea that every time they turned to the left, it was just driving it further to the left.
Oh, God.
And just, within seconds, that fucking thing at 500 miles an hour, because that's what they can look at all of the fucking data, and they say, well, why was it accelerating into the ground? Most people let off the gas and pull back. Here, every input was, essentially causing it.
Fuck. That's
I'm never
horrifying.
getting another
I'm
plane
not
ever.
getting in one of them pieces of shit.
Never.
That's why.
That's exactly what I said. That ruined me for flying, dude, because like 99% of them, are human error. Very seldomly is it the plane that malfunctions, but sometimes it is. You just never know until you're in the ground. So, all right, let's fucking wrap it up there. I've got a fucking massive headache for some reason.